Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to Groundhog Day, where we're on attempt number 3. I feel like we're just repeating history here. I'm optimistic yet nervous. The chance of go right now, weather violation, there's only a 45% chance for go. It's feeling awfully similar to yesterday, but you never know. I mean, when the odds are 50-50, you know, pretty close to that. It's feeling like chances are about as good as yesterday, and maybe better, and maybe we'll be totally fine. So who knows? Wish us luck as we get ready to watch the world's largest rocket sit there and get ready for prop load. We're less than 15 minutes. We're about 10 minutes away from hopefully the launch director doing the go no go poll. So we have a beautiful rocket on the pad for the third day in a row now, waiting takeoff. So hopefully this is the one. Third time's a charm, right? I mean, I hope we haven't lost too many people out of the fact that we haven't seen one launch yet this week. So yeah, hoping that this is the one. So thank you guys for tuning in with us. Those of you that I won't linger on it too much, but we have had quite the day here at Team Everyday Astronaut and the Cosmic Perspective crew. Wow, we are basically, Starlink is saving our butt. We have I think actually, now that I think about it, we have 4 Starlinks running the show because Mr. T's relying on a Starlink as well. So almost everything you're seeing is thanks to Starlink, because all of our everything that we've ever relied on for the rest of the show is completely somehow, we don't know what's going on. And Starlink's saving our butt. So if you're hearing my voice right now, it is because of Starlink. If you're seeing things not work as well as expected, it's sadly also because of Starlink. So yep, we are hoping that the weather gets a little bit better and that it improves. There's a few thunderhead clouds in the vicinity that I think is exactly the watch item that they're looking for. It's very similar to yesterday. We're having sporadic thunderstorms in the area. They just kind of pop up. I think when the humidity is this high, like these things are just kind of cropping up and making for a mess for a live stream. So, or for a rocket launch and a live stream, I guess. But yeah, we those of you that have been hanging out, we kind of know the drill by now. I don't know what more there is to talk about, so I'll just hang out. No, let's get to some of your questions right away. We have Ryan Leopold and Jackal Rockets both becoming members. Thank you guys so much. And MTO Creations with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Let's see here. This is from Shibui saying, I had no idea they had the ability to restarting in 24 hours. Did they upgrade the tank farm? So I think that the other deal is I think they brought trucks in from all over the place to be able to replenish in time. And I do think there's some upgraded capacities lately, which has allowed for a 24-hour reset. I don't think they could do that again. If they have another reset, you know, if this does not go off today, I do not think Wednesday would be an option. So we will see. From this angle, though, I mean, look at that. From this angle, it's sure looking pretty good. So, and that is kind of ish towards the direction that it would actually be going. So, you know, who really knows at this point? Well, I'll just have to wait and see. And that's the beauty of rocket sports and rocket watching, is you just don't quite know what you're in for. From Kurt saying, this is the most active time in space travel ever. We're lucky to be alive today. That is another way to look at it for sure, is, you know, we've never been in an era like this where there's just been this much activity. That's just never been a thing before. So pretty incredible that, you know, there's already a launch this morning, well, this afternoon, only a couple hours ago from Vandenberg. You know, we have rockets launching absolutely so often now that it is absolutely different than the world we were the world we were living in, you know, just a couple years ago. It's pretty wild. So it is exciting. It's crazy that it's just ramping up like this. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to keep up with because there's just so much activity now and so many people working on really cool things and impressive engineering. And it is fun to see kind of how different people are tackling issues. And I think that's pretty fun. Starduster says, you mean there's a chance? Yeah, there is a chance of this thing launching today. I mean, I don't think we'd be streaming, and I don't think SpaceX would be going for it if they didn't think there was a chance, you know. We've seen crazy things happen. I don't remember what launch it was. I feel like it's like Crew 11. The day that it was 90% go, it ended up getting scrubbed for weather. I think it was Crew 11. And the day that it was 10% go, it ended up being able to thread the needle and actually take off that day. So you just never know. That's why when people say, like, what are the odds? And I try to do a poll on odds. You know, it's like, how do you retrospectively, like, look back at that and be like, well, I was right. It was 70% or whatever. It's like, it was either go or it didn't. It's a binary thing. There's yes or no, you know what I mean? So, yeah, to kind of try to think about it that way is a little bit confusing. So, you never know. We've seen rockets launch in worse conditions. We've seen them not launch in better conditions. You just really never know, and that's exactly why we're here hanging out. The other key to tank watching today and to watching the rocket is now that we kind of realize, the communities realize that on SpaceX's website, they actually have an active T0 clock that we can keep an eye on. Our team's got an eye on it. I've got an eye on it. So you don't necessarily need to waste a browser window on it or anything, but that seems to be literally linked up to their mission control clock. Like, it's been accurate as soon as they scrub, before the announcers or anything like that even says it, boom, the clock has stopped. So I actually think it's synced up with mission control, which is really, really cool. I wish all companies could do that. I'm really thankful that SpaceX has done that, if that is indeed the case, because it makes our life a lot easier just to kind of stay, you know, in the loop, in the know, in the go. And yeah, I love that. That actually helps us a lot. So Ingans says, wasn't one of the Apollo missions held for 6 months? A couple of days seems like a breeze. I don't know. 6 months seems like a long time. Was there ever a 6-month gap? Let me think about that. 6 months and being held for 6 months. Can we get any confirmation on that? I'm not sure if that doesn't quite sound right to me. But maybe it is something like that. I mean, I know that some crews had to wait longer than normal, especially, you know, Jack Swigert got scrubbed from Apollo 13 and ended up flying later, so he had to wait more than 6 months. You know, there's only Apollo 8. Well, Apollo 8. Well, 7 was a shakedown of the CSM. So human-rated Apollo missions, we had 7, 8, 9, 10. Or wait, shakedown of LEM was 9. So was 7 just the first uncrewed? Yeah, okay, so I think we had 8, 9, 10, 11, wait, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 10 flights. We had 8, I know we had 18 people go out, or 27 people go out to the moon. But all that was done in about could there have been a 6-month gap? I don't know. I'm waiting for confirmation on that. Anyway, sorry, that was a random tangent. Let's see here from Xfinity Locksport asking, does Tim read from YouTube members or only Patreon? Neither. We pull in comments from wherever. We pull in comments from everywhere. You know, we try to, you know, if there's a queue and if someone is done like a super chat or something, we try to get to those, of course, but we don't want to spend the whole show just thanking people necessarily. That makes for not an exciting show. So we're pulling in questions from you guys from wherever you're at. If you're in our Discord channel, that's awesome. We'll pull those on air, which you can get to from Patreon on patreon.com/everydayastronaut. But you don't need to do that. We try to, you know, obviously that's just an active community. That's fun, kind of before and after launches and things like that. But we do pull those on air. But we just pull comments from wherever we're seeing them, including from Charlie saying, appreciate you and your team. Thank you so much. And Ryan Heckman saying, 3rd time's a charm. Let's go. Appreciate it. All right. So this is from Patrick. If SpaceX already knows that the weather is only 45% favorable for launch, why don't they postpone it for a few more days until weather is really better? I think the game is, if you do that every time it's below 50% and it could have been a go, like, if you just constantly are waiting for beyond 50%, you'll never launch. You might scrub your launch by, you know, if you wait a couple days and then in a couple days it's like, well, now it's better, but it's, you know, 60%, and then you still scrub or whatever. you just have to take every opportunity you can get. The cost is negligible as far as having the rocket, you know, in the grand scheme of things. We're still talking millions of dollars of propellant and millions of dollars of personnel and road closures and all the, you know, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure. But in the grand scheme of things, rather than pushing it down the road and potentially having it, you know, it could almost never launch, or it might be weeks. If you look at every opportunity as if it's not like 60 or 70% or whatever go, then you're gonna miss out on a lot of viable options. So they're really good. They have people that literally are like calculating exactly, you know, meteorologists that are literally looking at clouds and trying to figure out where they will be and what, you know, within this 1 hour launch window. So SpaceX has 1 hour to get this thing off the ground between 6:30 Central and 7:30 Central p.m. So the directors, the weather director and the range and the launch director are all looking and considering this, and they might have to reset to a different T0 if they don't feel like the opening of the window is the optimal time to launch. So that's kind of what we're waiting on. And again, this is a video that I'm working on actually with the United States Space Force, where I got access to the range at Vandenberg and have a really cool video coming out where I learned a lot about that, because it's actually, there's a lot of people whose jobs are just to sit there and make sure that the public is safe, that the rocket and the vehicle and the mission has the highest chance of success, and literally calculating it. Like there's an actual, like, mathematics are involved in what are the odds of success of this vehicle. And that's literally down to the component level. It's down to the weather elements. It's everything is quite literally risk calculated per every launch opportunity, even throughout the launch. I mean, there's so much that goes into this, because you don't want to waste good opportunities, but you also don't want to have a really bad day and lose a rocket that you could have, you know, not lost, obviously. So it's asking along the same question. So why are there limitations due to weather? What is a cloud going to do to Starship? So there's two main concerns with flying through weather. The number one is actually just literally lightning. And it's actually really a huge concern for solid rocket boosters are probably the worst for flying through a weather system, because the aluminum in the exhaust. So a solid rocket booster is actually made up of, it's solid, obviously, it's solid propellant, has its own oxidizer mixed in, but there's actually, you know, there's almost like a rubber, polybutene, I think that's how you say it, and a whole bunch of stuff and aluminum. And so when it actually launches, that cloud that you see coming, the white cloud that you see coming out of solid rocket boosters, is actually a pretty good conductor for electricity. So you're basically raising a giant lightning rod into the sky, just asking lightning to strike it if the conditions are right. So that's really, and the RP1's probably the next worst offender. RP1 and maybe hypergolics as well, because they have a lot of carbon entrailed in their exhaust. So they're a heavy, you know, a high carbon output rocket. So that's why the exhaust is kind of black and or afterglowing. You know, you see really bright exhaust on a Falcon 9 or an Atlas 5. And that's because of the carbon in the exhaust, the unburnt carbon in the exhaust, and it reacts with the atmosphere, glows, you know, bright orange when you see it coming out of the exhaust of a rocket engine. And that in itself also makes for a good conductor going through clouds. Now, Starship running on methane, it runs on liquid methane, liquid oxygen. You know, the main output, there's still CO2 coming out of the back of it and water vapor. So there still is, you know, some conductivity as it's flying through the air, and its exhaust basically makes a trail of, you know, higher conductive, you know, gas through the atmosphere. So they have rules on how close can lightning strikes be, because if lightning would strike it, it could be detrimental. It doesn't mean it would for sure be detrimental. We saw that with Apollo 12, got struck by lightning, I think twice on ascent with humans on board, and they were actually able to ride it out and switch over to some auxiliary systems that got fried. Yeah, that's the main, that's probably one of the big concerns. The other one, though, is weather systems can have really strong wind forces, and not just wind in like unison, you know, in a lateral direction one way, but it can change a lot between layers. So as you're ascending, you can have wind blowing at, we'll just make up a number, 50 kilometers east, and all of a sudden you're up, you know, you go up 1 extra kilometer and the wind is blowing 50 kilometers an hour west or whatever, you know, insert your metrics there. That can be a reality too, is that you can actually just have really strong wind shears, and the rocket has a lot of bending momentum. If you have a long pole like that and all of a sudden it has to steer one way and then quickly steer the other way because of wind shears, you can quite literally bend your rocket in half and destroy it. So those are probably the two biggest considerations with weather. But yeah, that's kind of the types of things we're looking at today. From Saber Saturn, one bonus to having these scrub launches that we get 3 everyday astronaut streams. Well, I appreciate the optimism there. By the way, we are within likely the go no go from launch director. So things that see the large venting on the tower does seem like they are working their way in towards fuel up. So that's a good sign. That large vent means that they're chilling the pipes down. They're getting ready to load. They're getting ready to load propellant on the vehicle. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. We're seeing a lot of activity from the tank farm. Things are looking pretty good. So yeah, that large condensation that we were talking about it the other day, but you know, the pipes around here are very warm compared to the liquid. You know, they'd be pretty warm to us even if you went up and touched it. You'd probably be like, yeah, I don't really want, that's like, you know, too hot to sit on type of thing in general. And most of them are subterranean. They go underground. So they're going to be relative, you know, about the same temperature as the ground, which can be very warm around here. And so obviously if you have a cryogenic propellant flowing through that, you'll just lose all of your fuel before it even gets to the rocket. It'll just boil off. You want it as a liquid when it enters the rocket, and you want it to stay a liquid in the rocket. So you're constantly venting out the stuff that boils off. So that's why they chill the pipes down. And that's quite literally what they're doing, is just cooling them down to get down to those cryogenic temperatures to allow it to be able to be fueled up. To allow it to be fueled up and have the fuel that the propellant that goes in. Sorry, I say fuel up. A prop load, it might be, because fuel it kind of infers only the fuel. Don't forget there's a fuel and an oxidizer. So there's the fuel, which is methane, and the oxidizer, which in this case is liquid oxygen, which is kind of the most common oxidizer. Kind of the industry standard. So Chandler Clausen, that intro music is pretty dope. Love to get an album from you. Well, good. I would love to give you an album. Maybe we will do vinyl for this one. We'll see. But that song, In That State, is still available. That's been available. That's been out for a couple years now. You can get that on Spotify and stuff. That song's called Cryo. That's the intro to this one. I actually re-recorded it, and we're going to remix and master it and put it on the new album just so it actually sounds more. So it's actually more playable live, and it's more of a more a gooder. MX304, if it doesn't go today, it'll be well into next week for another time. Thunderstorms forecast through Tuesday evening. Yeah, I don't really trust weather forecasts that far out, but I think another big limiting factor would be the fact that it's a holiday weekend here in the United States. So I don't know if Friday would necessarily be affected, but for sure Saturday through Monday is holiday weekend. I don't think they have the ability to launch during those 3 days. So that is definitely another consideration for sure. This is from Lift saying, hello, evening all. Here we go again from Optimus in Bolton, Lancashire, UK. I'm curious, how's everyone doing? Where's everyone tuning in here from today? Or where are we from around the world? I know a lot of Europeans are probably getting ready to go to bed. Maybe they're already in bed, especially since it is a work day, work week and or school. I understand we're going to lose probably quite a few people to these evening launches here in the U.S. Kind of screws up the launch schedule for a lot of people around the world. But I'm curious where everyone's coming in here from. People asking what time is the launch. We have it on your screen for your convenience. We're T-minus 1 hour and 8 minutes from the current T0. And the local time will be 6:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time here in the United States. Oh man, we have a lot from Europe. I'm seeing most people saying, just kind of looking out New Zealand. We got, okay, we're all over the place. Europe coming in big. Europe, you're representing big time tonight, and it's late for you guys already. So, oh, that's awesome. I love it I love seeing where everyone's coming in from. That's the thing that I think I like best about this whole thing, is that people from around the world are watching an event that, kind of represents humans going exploring, at least the potential future of humans going exploring. I want to be clear again. We talk about this a lot on the show, and whenever we're talking about this kind of stuff, but this rocket is still a massive prototype. It's still a massive, how can we make this thing work, right? It's a big question mark. And it's getting to be less of a question mark every time they light the engines on this thing, and especially when it leaves the ground. they learn a lot. And they're not settled into like, we have the solution. You know, you'll hear that from all engineers. Even though I think during a lot of the tours of Elon Musk, where I've been interviewing him, he is adamant that there is no right answer. We don't have the answer. We don't have the solution to this. We have a thing that we're going to try, and we're going to try, you know, we might be wrong and we might have to change and shift. And that's one of the things that I think is just that agility that is a little bit different in how SpaceX approaches this stuff compared to even like Blue Origin. You know, Blue Origin's done things a little bit more traditionally. Their first launch in New Glenn was pretty darn fantastic for a first flight of a huge rocket like that, that's so ambitious. I think they learned a ton. I don't know, like, this is one of those things. I wonder if there's people there that were like, I kind of wish we could have got up in even more minimally viable rocket on our first attempt, just to learn a few things, you know, a year before. So we could have applied that to this, you know, to that launch. I don't know. I'm sure there's different philosophies for different folks, but you clearly see that philosophy here at SpaceX, that it's like, you know, we'll just fly something. And if this thing works out, then this will be absolutely game changing, because a fully reusable rocket is a very, very big deal and has never been accomplished. So let's see here from Paul. Any dolphins today? So if you were tuning in yesterday, we had a tracker showing a boat, and dolphins were swimming with the boat, and it's beautiful, and it made my day. And then what made my day even more is when our team was kind of walking across a bridge after the stream, and there was just dolphins hanging out, and it was awesome. And they were like just right there, two of them, and that made it even better. So we didn't get a rocket launch yesterday, but at least there were some beautiful, wonderful dolphins hanging out, and that made it pretty darn fun too. So I'm a bit of an animal lover, and that made me pretty happy. So by the way, for those of you trying to remember the timeline here, they don't begin ship fuel load or prop load, fuel load to be specific, until T-minus 53 minutes. So we're about 10 minutes away from fuel being the first thing being loaded, and that is loaded onto the upper stage of Starship. Let's see here. All right, third attempt from ATC Network TV. I hope that is that air traffic. That it probably is air traffic control network. Awesome. My third attempt at this question. I'm sorry if we've missed it before. Hope we can get through tonight. What are the FAA airspace restrictions for civil aircraft around the launch zone, and how long and large is the exclusion zone around a launch area? Well, you can look up the NOTAMs on a sectional or on, for flight and things like that. It's generally very similar to the keep out of people on the ground. So it's about 5 miles around the launch site, more or less. Might be a little bit closer than that in a few areas, but it's about 5 miles. You can see the TFR on for flight. It's active right now. So if you want to look that up, if someone wants to link it to me, I don't want to spend time trying to find that right now. But you can see it there, and then it extends down range. Don't forget, there's a whole exclusion zone of where the rocket is going, and not if it's going right, but in case there would be a failure of the rocket and they had to terminate it, where debris could fall. So obviously, as the rocket gains momentum, if you turned off the engines, it wouldn't just, after it starts to pitch down range, it's not just going to fall back to the launch pad. It's not going straight up. It'll go straight up for a little bit, but it pretty quickly starts going horizontal to start getting some horizontal velocity. So if you were to kill the engines, after liftoff, like 30 seconds into liftoff, the debris field would be out in the Gulf of Mexico. And we've seen, the upper stage fail twice, where it failed in the Gulf of Mexico. And that was a pretty big deal. When it failed, it rained debris and it had to divert air traffic around it. So, but that is what those exclusion zones are for exactly. So, let's see. Let's keep going here. From Treetop, my wife says your enthusiasm is the only reason she watches space stuff when I'm not home. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you. I'm glad that that both of you will watch, and I'm glad the enthusiasm is infectious, because I don't think I would not be doing this if I didn't care and if I wasn't still energized by this whole thing. It's stressful being down here and trying to, especially when we have issues with our streams and stuff like that, and when there's scrubs and stuff like that. It can be very stressful. It can be a lot of stress and sleepless nights. Been sleeping good this time, but it can be really, really hard. We've got an amazing team though that just is always thinking of stuff, even when things are failing. So yeah, let's hear it for the team, because they're honestly amazing. So yeah, enthusiasm. I mean, you might as well be optimistic and be excited about things rather than be pessimistic and miss out. And before you know it, if you're poo-pooing something like this and just go before you know it, this system, the people working on this vehicle, will be putting humans on the moon, and eventually, hopefully someday, maybe putting humans on Mars. And I think that's exciting. I think that's really cool. If it doesn't quite work out that way, at least we're learning something along the way, and whatever lessons are learned here can be applied to other projects, other vehicles, other programs. And I think that's all pretty awesome. Zarati says, how do they prevent the tower and rocket from being hit by lightning? I would think that would not be good, but I don't see separate lightning rods anymore. I also am confused by that. Especially out of the Cape, which the Cape has a lot more ground strike lightning. It's like a lot more lightning hits the ground at the Cape compared to here. So maybe that's a big consideration. But out of the Cape, you have these huge lightning towers that are there to try to, if lightning's going to strike, it's going to hit that tower and be grounded and all that stuff, rather than risking the rocket and the launch infrastructure. So we don't have that out here, to my knowledge. There's probably some, lightning considerations. I'm sure there's grounding rods going from the top to the bottom. They just aren't as obvious and apparent as they are out of the Cape. But I'm actually not sure what the lightning suppression system really is here, and that is something I would really like to know. So let's see here. So evolution of Dan, I don't know if you missed it. I did kind of do a little rundown on the range and how clouds affect it, and stay tuned, because the video I'm currently editing right now is actually exactly about that. It's about the range. It's about the people that make those decisions, specifically at Vandenberg, but it's similar on the Cape. It's a little different here at Starbase. It's a private range, so the people in charge of these decisions work more directly just with the FAA and not necessarily with range coordinators that they work directly with those agencies instead of working with a government agency that controls the range. So in that case, it's the Space Force. So I'll have a video that explains it, and I need to still understand it better myself. So once I do, and I'm asking questions, I'm trying to make a good flow chart of all the way leading up to the Launch Decision Authority and the LDA, the person that's basically saying we are go for launch. Who's reporting what, and what are the streams of people, what types of things they're looking at. And I think my preliminary, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, because to be honest, I haven't found good flow charts, and even talking to them, there aren't really good flow charts, because it does vary launch to launch. But for the most part, it's pretty much there's weather considerations, there's range, meaning personnel, and making sure there's not air, the air, sea, and the ground people are clear from the exclusion zone of the rocket. And then there's the rocket itself. There's the mechanical systems itself. How is the vehicle looking and performing, even besides SpaceX, or even besides people on the, by the way, venting has changed quite a bit. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but because that could mean they're getting ready to actually go for prop load, that the chill down is complete. But sometimes when you see it's kind of changed like that, it could mean a little bit change in T0, but I will make sure we're still on track. It's seeming like we're still on track so far, though. Seems to be the case. So I'll have a video about that. Oh yeah, so in the last kind of column is just making sure that the rocket is ready. So not only in the case of a Vandenberg launch, not only is SpaceX looking to see if the vehicle is ready, the Space Force, the actual government agency, the branch of the military, is actually also actively tracking the rocket and making sure that everything is go from their eyes as well. It's like a secondary confirmation. So I think that's kind of cool. This is from Frederico. Imagine 100 years from now. I can't even imagine 10 years from now. Imagine 10 years ago, 2025. Let's see here. Let's see. 10 years ago, 2025. SpaceX had just landed a booster in 2014, December 21st, 2014. They landed a booster. That was the first time they landed, and that was only their, 17th Falcon 9 launch or whatever. And that was and so 2015, it was the year of can they land boosters again? And it was this whole thing of is this a one-time thing, or is this a thing that they actually are going to do? And Now look at it. Now, like, landing a booster is so normal that it's increased. It's made this absolutely ridiculous cadence that we just could not have imagined 10 years ago. I did not think we'd ever see 100 launches in a year, at least not in the next 10 years when I was first watching this stuff. And now 100 launches in a year happened already in August by one company. SpaceX launched 100 Falcon 9 rockets. Well, I think that also includes... that might include the Starship. But anyway, it wouldn't even matter. By August, they'd already launched, 100 Falcon 9s. And that's absolutely wild. That is like so much beyond anything I could have imagined 10 years ago. I did not see a cadence like that picking up. So where will we be in 10 more years? I think the cadence will only continue to increase, especially as they continue to improve Starlink and increase bandwidth on it. That's the main objective at this point, and that can all be used as funding to fund other ventures for the program. So pretty wild, honestly. Let's see. What's the approximate recovery rate when they drain back to the tank farm? I think it's around 50%. It might. I don't quite remember, but I think it's around 50. So you lose a decent amount to boil off. Oh, are we gonna have another dolphin watch? Please tell me we're gonna see another dolphin watch. Are there confirmed dolphins, or is this just casual dolphin watching? Okay, we have previously spotted dolphins in this vicinity quite recently. Whether or not we'll continue to see them is up for debate as we get within 2.5 minutes of hopefully seeing the ship fuel up. Go for fuel up. So hopefully we see that. If you guys see it, yeah, keep your eye on it, and we'll put it up on there. Dolphin watch is sometimes more exciting than nothing happening on a rocket. So I'm all for it. This is from Dave Graham. Thanks for being here for 3 days. That is all. I appreciate that. It's not just me. It's our team. It's the people running these streams and making this all possible. It takes a whole village here. I think we basically have a team of 6 or 7 people running these shows right now. And that's actually a skeleton group. In the past, for some of these streams, we had 10, 11. We've had some pretty big crews running a show. So, yeah. This is from Avon Schmidt, 66. Good evening, Tim. Just tuned in. How are we looking? Thank you for your super chat. We are about, last we heard, 45% go. So I'm just going to say about 50-50. Weather does appear to be clearing and improving. So we will see. We're only about a minute, less than a minute and a half from hopefully seeing fuel start to be loaded onto Starship's upper stage. So we will hopefully have that coming, and we'll be able to see the signs of that. There's definitely a lot of tank farm activity, so it looks like they are going for it. And the official SpaceX clock, by the way, is continuing to target at just under T-minus 54 minutes, 54 seconds. If it's 54 seconds, I'm running. Let's see here. This is from Gav O'Toole saying, hey, Tim, what would the difference between the N1 and Super Heavy liftoff look like? Would the N1 or Super Heavy be louder? So the N1 was 45 meganewtons of thrust. I can only remember in meganewtons. Saturn V was wait, hang on. One of them was 40, one of them was 35, and one of them was 45. I think Saturn V was 35. I think the N1 was 45, despite having a smaller payload capacity, had higher thrust. And Starship is over 75 meganewtons at this point. So the Starship would probably be quite a bit louder. I don't know how much. There's other things into play just besides like thrust, though. Like solid rocket boosters, for example, are typically extremely loud. There's something about them that it's just like crackling and just it carries sound very well. I don't know if having engines clustered together makes some resonant frequencies be louder than if they were more spread out, because the N1 had a similar bottom. Let me see if we have a rock. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to be pulling up something here for you guys to kind of take a look at where we talk about some of these things. Oh, baby, I said I could find it, and guess where I found it? Ooh, this is acting really weird. Hold on. Guess where I found it on the website that's kind of broken right now. Let me just do it in direct. There we go. Okay, so if we look at this here, this is a side-by-side of, yeah, please hold. We'll get this on on the screen here. Let me see if I actually talk about the total thrust. So we talk about, yeah, 45 meganewtons of thrust for the N1 and 35 for the Saturn V. And Starship is more or less at 75-ish and will be continuing to increase from there. But the crazy thing is here, I'll pull this up on the screen here in a second, is when you actually see the size of the N1 versus Starship. So N1 had a massive base. It had, you know, it was 17 meters wide at the bottom of the rocket, and it fit 30 engines. And the NK-15/NK-33 is pretty similar in scale to the Raptor, but they just fit way more. They just squeeze those Raptors in really tight on the base of Starship. So for those of you, in case you were curious what the N1 was, the N1 was a rocket that flew 4 times out of the Soviet Union, kind of the competitor to the Saturn V that took humans to the moon. This was the rocket that the Soviets developed or were developing to try and get their, their cosmonauts to the moon. This was the space race vehicle. This was it. Big departure from what the United States was doing. Let's see, we're 55% favorable for launch now, guys. And they are officially go for prop load. So up to 55%. I like that. Improvement. That's a good thing. The fact that they're loading the vehicle must mean they have a degree of confidence that they might actually get this thing off the ground. So the N1 and the Saturn V, you almost couldn't have built 2 different rockets, and Starship is yet another version of, like, you couldn't have built a different rocket than those other 2. I have a deep dive video on Starship versus N1, and kind of it was after the first launch, and there's a lot of criticism of people saying, well, yeah, no wonder it didn't work. They have 33 engines, and the N1 failed, and it had 30 engines. How could they ever get that to work? Come to find out, by the second launch already, the booster was working absolutely phenomenally, and the booster so far has been an absolute showstopper. It's been this workhorse already. 9 out of 10 flights so far have been really solid on the booster's end, where the booster performed everything basically it could have performed, more or less. Especially considering all 3 launch attempts where they had a catch opportunity that where the booster came back to the launch site to try to land, all 3 were successful. So really impressive work with the booster and the fact that it has 33 engines. So when you look at that video in hindsight, I was sitting there going, like, I don't really think it's the number of engines. Falcon Heavy, for instance, people forget Falcon Heavy has 27 Merlin engines that all light simultaneously. It actually has 28 because it has a vacuum engine, but what light on the ground at an ignition at liftoff is 27 Merlin engines. So it's not a number of engines thing. There's a little bit of a bathtub curve of, like, more engines does lead to more complexity, does lead to more potential for failure. But in the case of, rocket development, if you're mass producing rocket engines constantly and you're cranking these things out like nothing, you're testing them a ton, because who cares if you blow one up? You're producing these things at a rate that no one else is, versus one bespoke engine every 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or whatever. And you're like, ooh, careful with this, our precious, don't push it too hard, There's just a different philosophy, and it's okay when things, it's okay for things to fail. You're okay. Yeah. Sneaking on by. People are fixing things up here. By the way, I think I called you Andrew Garfield instead of Andrew Clifford.
What, yeah, on stream yesterday?
Yeah.
I think you said it right, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not on our team, I don't think, for now. Not yet. Yeah. Let's see. This is... Oh, this is from Carlos. This is a fun little comment. Shout out, please. Name pronunciation included. Cyrene, I love you. What's for dinner? That's awesome. I appreciate that you are talking to a loved one through the internet. That is fantastic. This is from Khalid Zobi asking any updates on the warehouse for the shop. I need to follow up on that, see where the team's at with that. They promised me August, and it's almost not August anymore. So I guess that does mean it's time for me to be, pinging people and making some moves there. We'll see what's going on. Awesome. Some great news. SpaceX will be pulling up. We will be pulling up their live stream and bringing it onto the show, so you don't have to miss anything. That way, you get to hear from them, and I'll be a little more passive while they're live and while they're streaming. And then what's fun is, we'll be able to, digest what they're saying and talk about that during the coast phase, because they go off air during the coast phase and things like that. And if there would happen to be something, we can dive into it. One of the beautiful things that we're doing is we do record. We have a Blackmagic replay editor. So if something were to happen, I don't expect anything, or something cool were to happen or whatever, we can actually do like instant replay stuff on air too. So we can do a little bit of analysis and post-flight analysis, assuming this thing does launch. 55% sounds better than 45% to me, right? So how you guys feeling? Is everyone thinking we're actually going to see something happen today? I'm ready for some positivity here. I'm ready for some good vibes. So SpaceX is already live.
Everybody, welcome back to Starbase. If you've been following along, today is going to mark the 3rd attempt to get our 10th Starship flight test off the ground. First one was back on Sunday. We stood down then to troubleshoot an issue with some of our ground systems, had a leaky hose. We replaced that, got to our attempt yesterday, lost our battle with the weather gods and some anvil clouds in the area, but we're hoping the 3rd time is the charm.
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure.
Yeah, so at the moment, we are actively loading propellant onto the vehicles. Our engineers are on console, monitoring the vehicle, all of the systems as we count down to liftoff. Prop load is underway. We are looking better on the weather this time, good on the range, and we are targeting the very beginning of our window at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Our objectives for today, really with the ship, are going to look very similar to the last couple of launches, looking to deploy those Starlink simulator satellites, fly a whole bunch of experiments during Starship's reentry, testing the limits of its heat shield and its flaps. Ultimately, we want to see ship do controlled descent, soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That's really what we're looking for today. Regardless of the outcome, though, goal is always to collect as much data as possible. That gets us one step closer to a fully operational Starship.
That's right, and either way, flight tests guarantee the maximum level of excitement, and Starship will allow us to fly the heaviest payloads ever flown and ultimately fly humans further into space than ever before, even all the way to Mars, as we always talk about. Our progress here at SpaceX is measured by getting closer to establishing a self-sustaining civilization on Mars, and these are the flights that are forging that path.
That's right. Now, a whole bunch has happened to get us to this 10th flight test. We're not going to go all the way back to the beginning, but we're going to start with Starship's 9th flight test, which lifted off in May. That one did end with what we call a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or a RUD, on both the ship and booster. Let's take a quick trip back.
We might have to mute the audio on this.
So Flight 9 marked the first reflight of a super heavy booster.
Maybe it doesn't.
We saw successful hot staging and the first ever deterministic flip, which gives us extra performance. The reused booster was flown at a much higher angle of attack to push the envelope on capabilities. This did end up causing some internal structural failure, eventually leading to a rapid unscheduled disassembly at landing burn.
Ship, though, continued its ascent. While it was going, though, we saw pressure dropping in the main fuel tank, rising in the nose cone. In this view, you can see pop, the fuel diffuser inside the pressurization system. We had a hole develop. The ship still managed to complete its ascent burn, got to its planned velocity, got to second stage engine cutoff. Really huge moment.
After that, though, we did run into some issues with attitude control, which eventually led us to skipping the payload deploy and Raptor Relight demos. Starship eventually re-entered the atmosphere in an off-nominal attitude, and communication was unfortunately lost approximately 46 minutes into the flight test during entry, but not before we got one heck of a light show.
That's right. Looking forward to another one today. The booster RUD, we went back and looked at it. That was caused we had a much higher than predicted forces on the booster structure, really honing in on that internal fuel transfer tube inside. That was all due to that angle of attack experiment we were running for today's flight, and any of the remaining ones on this version of the booster. We're just lowering the angle of attack for the booster as it comes in, relaxes those forces, minimizes the likelihood that we see that kind of structural failure.
Yeah, and then over on the ship side, we redesigned the part of the fuel pressurization system that failed on Flight 9. We put it through a more rigorous test campaign and subjected it to flight-like stresses, and eventually we were able to actually run it for more than 10 times the expected service life with no damage, which was super exciting. Yeah. Our goal is always, of course, to make it through all of the objectives we set, but any result that teaches us more about Starship performing in the real-world environment helps us to make those targeted iterations and improve quickly.
Yeah, that's kind of been the secret to our success. That's how we developed Falcon 1, our first rocket. That's how we developed Falcon 9, which we've already flown more than 100 times just this year. A little insane. And 500 flights overall.
Yeah, super exciting for Falcon 9. And again, we're trying to follow their lead and launch, learn, and repeat.
Yeah. So we finished Flight 9. We were getting ready for Flight 10. And if you followed along, we originally had a different ship number 36, that was slated to fly on Flight 10. But that experienced a pretty major anomaly during its static fire test out at our Massey's test site. We were actually in its second static fire, a 6-engine. We were loading cryogenic propellant on board. We saw a sudden energetic event, complete loss of Starship, damage to the stand, and some of the immediate area surrounding it.
The most likely root cause that we were able to identify was undetectable or under-screen damage to a composite overwrapped pressure vessel, or COPV, in Starship's payload base section. To address this probable cause, we are operating the COPVs on Starship at a lower pressure and also implemented additional proofs and inspection methods.
Meanwhile, though, got to maintain our launch schedule, got to keep testing, so we pivoted to actually using the launch pad, the same one we're stacked on right now, to do ship static fire tests, something we had never done before. A retrofit was the fastest path to get back to flying. The team was able to engineer, implement a solution. We used a ship transport ring, sawed some stuff off, welded some stuff on. We're able to mount the ship, load propellant using what we usually use for the booster, and then do 2 different static fires on that orbital launch mount, doing that in a matter of weeks.
So impressive.
Yeah, it was really an incredible turnaround to see. And the static fires did give us the data we needed to progress to launch, and are a prime example of our engineer and technician teams working together to build creative solutions to keep us charging forward to bring Starship online.
Yeah, even while we did all of that, we're still in the process of rebuilding that Massey's test site. That's where we want to continue testing our ships in the future, and we're getting it ready for that next generation of Starship version 3.
Yeah, very excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the rocket on the pad currently. Starship is the first orbital launch vehicle engineered to be fully reusable. It's built for frequent flights and a significant amount of payload.
It is the largest rocket ever made, ever flown, largest flying object in human history. It's going to be the vehicle that enables our foundational mission to eventually bring humans to Mars. I recently, just yesterday, got a chance to do a deep dive into kind of everything big picture Starship. Had some special guests, Elon Musk and Bill Riley. Let's take a look back. We're about to launch the largest flying object ever made, but this isn't on the radar for everybody, and we know that. So we want to kind of take a beat, pull back, do a little bit of Starship 101. To do that, I've got some special guests crashing the webcast today. Joining me now in Star Factory, Elon Musk, Chief Engineer at SpaceX, Bill Riley, our VP of Starship Engineering. Thanks for being here, guys. I know we got a rocket about to get off the pad, but you know, let's start people off like high level. Like, why are we here? What the hell are we doing here?
Well, I don't know about everybody, but I'm here to try to build into
Is
the
this just gonna
future
be a
that I
replay?
imagined and dreamed of as a child, where starships with people are out
Kinda
among
seems
the
like
stars exploring the universe.
It's going to be a full replay. All right. If it's doing
Yeah,
the full
so
replay,
the why-
we already
it's always
saw this. And
important to explain the
unfortunately,
why
I mean,
of things.
I was actually
And,
really grateful to see
the
these
why
two,
of Starship
come and talk during a live during a launch, because we've never really seen something like that in any of the SpaceX streams. And I thought that was really cool. I'm really appreciative of it. The only thing that I wish, and it's so funny to be like, how dare you not give me the thing you're doing for free in a total bonus? Why aren't you doing the thing that I want you to do for free in a total bonus? But, you know, the thing that I'm really wanting to learn more about is where are we at with Raptor 3, with Starship 3, and all these new, you know, iterations on that, and how, you know, are we having to wait for that until we see an orbital launch? Or are we having to wait for that for, you know, obviously fuel transfer demonstrations, obviously. And, you know, where are we at with HLS and things like that, with the human landing system, the lunar lander. So it was mostly just kind of a similar talking points. Elon, it's so crazy. The last few times he's talked about Starship, over and over and over, the main thing he talks about is the heat shield. And the heat shield comes up all the time. So he spent probably a few good minutes just, again, briefing us or debriefing or rebriefing or unbriefing, I don't know, however you want to say it, about the heat shield tiles and how That's the thing they are testing. That's pretty much that's one of the biggest reasons for these test flights, is literally just to test out those heat shields, you know. So is it you know, the big question is always, is this the best solution? And it might be. They might have the best solution where they're using stainless steel, which can be, you know, handle higher temperatures, handle higher heating than aluminum or other similar airframes. They're using that, but they're also using a little bit of a ceramic heat shield with an ablative background behind it, so that in case a tile does end up falling off, which is, you know, decent probability, it's not detrimental. It's just it's an inconvenience because you have to replace it before the next launch, but it's not like, oh no, we had one tile lost, now the entire vehicle's gone. Maybe it is a good solution. Maybe metallic heat shields and actively regenerative heat shields will be the answer. We're hoping to find out. We'll see this thing continue to evolve, and maybe the exact shape and dimensions of the heat shields will change, the density, all of those things. Yeah, so why are people saying, yeah, I was surprised that so many people were shocked about the Nuke Mars shirt yesterday. That's been around forever. That's an old shirt. And people were like, what is that about? That's because the idea being, it's kind of been brought, I mean, I think NASA had a study on it like the 70s, the idea that you could nuke the poles of Mars and free up the ice on the frozen ice on the north and south pole of Mars, on the poles, free up that ice, get water, and also start to develop an atmosphere again if you nuke it. So the idea being like, let's just send a couple nukes off to Mars and get an atmosphere and free up some water and actually try to bring this planet back to life, is kind of the idea, like kickstart it. But it's definitely a little bit tongue in cheek and a little bit of a joke. Let's answer a couple more questions. I saw a really good one that I wanted to get to. Where was that one? Okay, this is a great one. I love this question from Robert C. Do you think Raptor will ever have a multi-nozzle variant a la the RD-180? Maybe a 3 or 4 pack? Would it be easier to do full combustion chambers or just the nozzles? Now, it's important to remember that the multi-nozzles that you see on the RD-180, so the RD-180 has 2 nozzles, but it also has 2 combustion chambers. That's the whole thing there. That's what they're breaking up. They're not breaking up the nozzle. They're breaking up the combustion chamber, because the Soviets didn't really solve how to, be successful with large combustion chambers, because they're experiencing combustion instability. That's why they more or less kept that same size, same combustion chamber size on almost their entire fleet until the RD. Oh man, I'm blanking right now. The 268 or whatever what's the hypergolic full flow engine was their biggest chambered engine ever, and I think it's because they kind of got a peek at what the U.S. was doing with the F1 engine to make it so that they kind of solved large combustion chambers, combustion instability. So the larger you make the chamber, the harder it is to control combustion to be just nice and clean. You start to get kind of pockets of turbulence, and what can happen is those can kind of start basically causing detonations, and you can destroy your engine that way. So they just kept it small, and what they would do, they weren't just making multiple nozzles, they were making multiple combustion chambers fed by one turbo pump. So they found you can scale up the turbo pump, and you actually it's easier to make a larger turbo pump in some ways, because your tolerance is, if you have a teeny tiny turbo pump, and let's say you're the closest you can get your turbine to the wall of the turbine housing is, let's just make up a number, 0.01 millimeters or whatever. Well, if your turbine's only 2 centimeters across, that's a lot of it is basically leaking. So the tolerances are scale a lot better the bigger you go. You also have things like the volume scales better. I mean, everything about scaling it, except for I think the rotational speed, is better to scale up. So they found they could make really powerful turbo pumps and then just use one turbo pump to feed that out, all of those, all of the power they're making from that turbo pump, feed multiple combustion chambers. So that was their way of doing it. It wasn't actually just breaking up the nozzle. So by the way, they are officially into the booster loading propellant. So we're counting down here. This is looking better. This is looking better to me, and I am loving it. But I don't see any reason for Raptor to go multi-nozzle, multi-combustion chamber. They don't seem to have issues with combustion instability inside the nozzle. It's already, or inside the combustion chamber. It's already really compact. But yeah, you could almost argue, I don't know. I don't really see, I don't see a huge benefit to them breaking it up when they're not dealing with combustion instability. If anything, they could potentially scale the engine up altogether. But I think they found a nice sweet spot in size where you're, the big thing is not just thrust to weight ratio. We talk about that a lot with rockets, is the thrust to weight ratio, but it's also how much thrust per area. Like, how much area does this entire engine take up? And when you have a fixed, area underneath the booster, you have 9-meter wide booster, how much surface area, where all can you put engines? So the denser you can make those engines, and the denser, so the more thrust per surface area of like what's taken up by the engine, the better. And that's almost what it's like, total impulse. What is the best? And they seem to have found a pretty sweet spot, and they're continuing to tweak the Raptor engine, and they're continuing to make it stronger, smaller, faster, better, gooder. Let's see. This is from Hervin asking, have I ever thought about doing a video on space tethers and skyhooks and their viability? Aerospikes might be actually useful. I'm not a huge fan, honestly. I like rockets. There's something not as exciting to me about a giant cable. There's material sciences galore trying to solve that, and I just don't think it's ever, I mean, I won't say I don't think ever, but it just doesn't seem likely in the near future. It would be cool, don't get me wrong, it'd be pretty cool. In a very non-exciting way, it'd be cool. But yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of other videos that I'd rather focus on, to be honest. Adrian, would you consider yourself to be the world's first rocketologist? Would look great on a shirt or a mug. I don't know if I'm the first rocketologist. I think there's been other people that are more all rocketology than I am, but yeah, I do fancy myself a bit of one. But speaking of, I don't know if we've actually done a pointy end up, flaming end down check, and we should probably do that right at T-30. So we actually on screen it now. Some of it's previously recorded, so I better just only look at the left, very left, and the very right. And from those positions, I can confirm that we definitely have the pointy end up, flaming end down this time. So I don't think that was an issue on the other two launch attempts, but it's looking good to me. That's looking, my rocket orientation skills are paying off big time. So Anthony wants to know if Elon ever admit that I gave him the idea for Starship control thrusters. Were extremely close in conversation, probably a non-thing after the moon thing, just for posterity. No, I don't, to be honest, I didn't have an idea. I was asking a question, and the question for me, admittedly, came from me not liking the warm gas system. I thought it was dumb. Once it got explained a little bit further, and the fact, because to me, when you have a potential for a chemical reaction, if you can react methane and oxygen, even if it's the warm gas ullage, and you can get them to react in some way, you can get a lot more energy out of it. However, you have to pressurize it to do that. Beyond the 6 or 8 bar or whatever's inside the propellant tanks of Starship. But if you don't need that, higher performance. You can literally just vent all of that gas, not all of it, but a lot of that gas out, and it can be your reaction control system. And I thought it was stupid at first. I thought it was it never crossed my mind that that's something you could do. It just didn't seem like it was something you could, because no other vehicle gets to space and has mostly empty propellant tanks that stays attached to the payload. Normally, stage separation occurs. The payload gets deployed. Now the payload's off on its own. Even if it was like a Centaur upper stage or something, that does have a lot of propellant left off, a lot of boiled off propellant, and the tanks are pressurized still with a decent amount of that, ullage gas. But it doesn't do anything beyond that. It typically just, deorbits itself. So to have the payload, to still have a mission and attitude control needing to be necessary and things like that, and have all of this potential energy in the form of pressurized gas, I guess it does kind of make sense. I still don't quite love that it's the main system. I would love maybe a backup or something, like a little just to give me a couple nitrogen thrusters as a backup or something. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like either the whole thing works or none of it works almost. So it's just make it reliable, make it work, and solve when there is an issue. If you're flying, multiple times a year, you can find those issues. If you're flying dozens of times, you can find those issues, and you can fine tune it and you can fix it. And even the Falcon 9 landing is supposed to be for a long time we heard it say an experimental landing. They don't say that anymore. They don't really have redundancy in the Falcon 9 landing, yet the Falcon 9 landing success rate of the last 300 launches is better than the space shuttle's launch rate. That's kind of grim, if you ask me. There's not even really redundancy baked in, but they got so good at finding what types of things could go wrong in the booster landing that they've nailed that down with very little redundancy. They just have made everything so reliable. And so when you do see it like that, where it's flown enough to get that kind of data and that kind of confidence and get that kind of flight heritage, sure, you kind of can get away with doing things a little differently. If you only fly once every 3 years and you're like, oh, we need this to work, you better stick with something more conventional and simple. It's something that's never, something that's just less likely to fail or less likely to be, I don't know. Yeah. And if you've never, I don't know, it's pretty weird. Let's see here. Sorry. Skies are looking clear. Yeah, what? I'll keep going here. This is a question from Mine Tingles asking, will the U.S. lose the race back to the moon? China's getting pretty aggressive, and there's a very good chance that they will land on the moon, by 2030. Can humans on the Artemis program land on the moon before then? I don't know. This is a very long poll item. There's so many things. There's so, we always talk about milestones. There's so many milestones that need to happen before the human landing system is viable for the Artemis program to actually land humans on the moon with something like Starship. So there is a long ways to go. There's a very long ways to go. Do I think it's impossible? No. Do I think it's the fastest way we could have gone about getting back to the moon? No. We definitely could have done it a lot more conventionally if we wanted to, especially if SLS had the capability to do a single launch. Yeah. Man, that condensation today is intense. Yeah. This is crazy, actually. Sorry, I'm just paying attention to how much the venting is towards our cameras and how intense it looks. It just looks pretty wild. And it's funny to remember. I did see someone asking, hang on, where was that? Where was that thing about someone asking if it's toxic, basically? Oh, here we go. Dave Booth asks, are the clouds from boil off toxic? So you're seeing all that boil off there. They're not toxic, but if you were standing there, you could be asphyxiated because you're breathing something other than oxygen, most likely. Especially, so the boil off that you see is either going to be liquid nitrogen that they use to cool down the things, or you might see liquid oxygen boiling off. Sorry, you're not seeing the liquid nitrogen. You're seeing gaseous nitrogen and gaseous oxygen. And, nitrogen on itself obviously is not toxic. If you only breathe nitrogen, though, you will not live for, if that's all you're breathing for a while. Obviously, the majority of the air we breathe is nitrogen, but it's the oxygen that's alongside it that allows us to actually survive. So when they vent, when they're venting that out, if you were standing in a cloud of pure nitrogen, yeah, you probably wouldn't fare so well. You'd probably be asphyxiated. You'd probably have hypoxia. And so, the other end of that is the only things that are vented is liquid oxygen is the other one that boils off and is gaseous oxygen. And again, you probably wouldn't want to stand in a cloud of pure gaseous oxygen either without, I don't know how much of that's due to pressure. You probably could do okay, but you'd probably freeze to death. Hopefully that answers your question. This is from, will Starship land on Mars first or will Star Citizen be released first? Oh man, that's a great question. This is from JSP saying, how do they turn around and try again in 24 hours fully fueled? Normally it's been 48. So I think they called in extra resources to be able to get this thing fueled up for today's launch attempt. Yeah, it's I think they kind of just went all in to try to get this thing off before Labor Day weekend. Because if they miss this window before the weekend, it just delays things by a few more days. And I know it's crazy to be, I think I even asked, in one of those interviews or one of those tours, something about like, why are you guys counting down days for this stuff? Like, who cares, And it was the sense that like, if you start losing track of days, then, or hours, you're losing track of the whole thing. If everything is like, well, it's okay, we have tomorrow and the next day, it can just be pushed. You can just kicking the can down the road, and it can just lead to huge delays. And as much as it seems like a program like this is almost delayed, it's pretty ambitious, and they've done a lot of stuff with it already. So, I think I kind of think that's the right way to go about things. Let's keep moving here. Hello from Canada, from Dave Bach. Your channel kickstarted my love for rockets and spaceflight. Well, I appreciate that. I feel like there's a lot of people here that they maybe started watching this channel or maybe another space channel, and it's a recent fascination for spaceflight. For me, it's been over 10 years now. It's been since about 2013, 2014 that I really got interested in spaceflight. So I'm 11 or 12 years into this thing, and I caught the bug kind of before people were streaming launches like this, and when companies were barely streaming them sometimes too. And I just couldn't stop paying attention. I just thought it was exciting and cool and something to look forward to. So how many of you guys are kind of in that same boat where maybe in the last few years? I think a lot of people, when I talk to a lot of fans, a lot of times there are people that kind of caught the excitement during SN8, SN9, 10, kind of during like the COVID era, when people were just inside watching a lot more YouTube and watching a lot more TV and stuff, looking for things to keep their attention. And, that's when I think a lot of exciting stuff was happening here at Starbase for the first time. We were seeing, whoa, this is crazy. They're doing these crazy tests. These are wild. And it just was so exciting and unique and different and something to look forward to. So I know that's a very common time frame for a lot of people. We saw a lot of growth on the channel. And it was something that grabbed people's attention, and it was fun. It was fun, and it was something to look forward to. David Schultz, have you guys even slept in 3 days? Yes. I prioritize sleeping. I know it's kind of crappy when the team's doing work, but I know I'm not a good host if I don't get 7-8 hours of sleep. We've done launch campaigns where you just have these horrible turnaround times, and you have to wake up at 2 a.m. and start heading out to the launch pad, like at Kennedy Space Center or something, for a 4 a.m. launch attempt or whatever it is. And I'm a bad host. I need to be as mentally sharp as possible, because we all know that's slipping day after day. So you gotta take what you can get. And luckily, our team too. I actually think, and I think this is true for any field, that if you're sleep deprived, you make more mistakes. And I'd rather people take time off, and we try to turn off after each stream, kind of debrief and talk and relax, kick back for a minute, go eat and try to make a whole thing of it, and try to get everyone just kind of this mode of like, we'll solve it tomorrow, but be thinking about it in the background, but don't be actively working and losing sleep over it, because I just don't think that's the best way to actually get things done. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. This is from Stespin. What's your opinion on Starship's flip maneuver? It surely is cool to watch, but it seems like a bit of an extreme maneuver with little to no margin for contingencies when something fails. I'll tell you what my thoughts are, but you have to do a little bit of follow-up, my friends. You have to go to youtube.com, Everyday Astronaut Starship Flip. Search for Everyday Astronaut Starship Flip, and you will see a video called Why Does Starship Belly Flop? And it's specifically the thumbnails, why do this so close to the ground? I don't know if you want to pull this up on the side screen here. I guess we're kind of waiting on the other thing to be done. We have a lot of side screen stuff happening right now. We got launch over there, but this video in particular, why does Starship belly flop? I will tell you why they do it, why it's the advantages of it, why it's worth it, and or if it's a good idea. So that's my recommendation, is watch that. It seems like they might be back to talking, so we're going to take them back to air now.
Is being generated by these engines on this rocket. We try to compare it to something like a little bit closer to home for people. We've used an airplane a lot of times. That's just something a little more tangible to folks.
Yeah, if you were to stack Starship up against one of the biggest airplanes out there today, the 747, just one Raptor engine is double the thrust of all 4 airplane engines. Super crazy to think about. And the Super Heavy on the pad right now, which has 33 Raptor engines, is putting out as much power as about 64 747s.
Yeah, it's, again, just a tremendous amount of power. World's largest flying object. It's crazy. And again, that was really cool to just go through that. I love to geek out as much as everybody else over all the nitty gritty, but always important to remember there's a lot of people that just don't know that all of this is happening. So it's cool to remind them, cool for everybody else out there to help us spread that word. All right. So right now we are 17 minutes, 12 seconds and counting until the 10th Starship flight test. While we do have a moment, though, let's check in over with Tyler Lionquist over in Hawthorne for the latest on Starlink. How's it going, Tyler?
Thanks, Dan and Amanda. I'm Tyler Lionquist, and I'm a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. Starlink is SpaceX's low Earth orbit, high-speed internet that's bringing connectivity both on Earth and in space. Now, for today's mission, Starship is outfitted with 4 Starlink terminals, allowing us to get live views of ship while in orbit and all the way down to splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Our Starlink satellites are built in Redmond, Washington, which is also where we monitor the health of the entire constellation. So let's take a quick look for more on Redmond.
We saw this one yesterday too. So we'll talk over this one and try to answer a few more questions while we're at it. Let's see. This is from Trobin T. When I tune into you, Tim, during SpaceX launch, I feel home. Thanks, bro, for bringing us. Thanks, bro, for giving me/us this emotion. Well, I appreciate that, and I really do sincerely appreciate when you guys tune in with me. It is a pleasure. I would not. We would not be able to do this if you guys didn't show up and stream and offer support and just hang out with us. It really does make a difference, and it is fun. Like it's stressful, but it's fun, and it's really cool to see, from launch to launch, the changes and the upgrades and the things that are happening. So, speaking of support, holy cow, from Vibin79, thank you so much for $50 super chat. Thanks for all your hard work. Today's my son's second day of college to become an aerospace engineer. Your broadcasts have had a positive influence on his decision, and we always watch your broadcast together, even when apart. Love you, Dad. That is awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's one of my favorite things to hear, is that someone's getting into aerospace, pursuing a degree in aerospace engineering, and going to be working in the field in some part because of maybe watching some of my videos. That is like the ultimate compliment. So I really, really, really appreciate you sharing that. I really appreciate the support as well. And best of luck to your son. That is so cool. Go out there, learn, make a difference, and study hard, because there's a lot of smart people working really hard to solve these crazy problems, and it's a competitive field, and the ones that care and the ones that are passionate are the ones that get jobs. So keep that excitement up. If you ever need a break to keep the excitement up, go watch a rocket launch. Make a trip to go see a rocket launch, and it makes everything better. You'll go, wow, this is what I'm working on, and it is awesome. So this is Rapid Thrash. I actually answered this question yesterday, and I think it was actually from you. I did talk about colonizing Venus, and I said I think it would be cool to have a small base there or something, but colonizing it and living it, it doesn't seem like it's the right planet to try to, like, you can't really use the natural resources like we could potentially use even on the moon even, or Mars, because you can't really get down to the surface and do meaningful things on the surface with how dense the atmosphere is on Venus. So it makes sense. You could do some cool missions there. You could do some cool human missions, like small Cloud City style, cloud floating stations and things like that. But you can't really do like on the ground types of things. So hope that makes sense. So this is from Kevin. Speaking of colonizing and living on other planets, how will we survive on Mars when it has no magnetic field? So it experiences higher radiation than we would here on Earth, a little bit lower radiation than you'd experience on the moon. You can supplement that by being inside of the spacecraft. You can supplement that by another cool one is like lava tubes and being in tunnels and being underground, burying your spacecraft under a little bit of regolith, a little bit of dirt, soil, ground, just to build up mass between you and the sun. Is going to be a viable option there. So I think we're done with that talk here. Let's listen in again.
Let's turn our attention to today's flight profile, which will feel familiar because it is. We're looking to get our first re-entry with this iteration of ship, and we're again intentionally stressing Super Heavy during its return. The next generation booster is on the horizon, so the objective is to push and learn all we can from this current version.
All right, let's jump right in. As always, it's going to start with liftoff. Super Heavy ignites 33 engines lifting off from Starbase and ascending. It's going to power that ascent for about 2.5 minutes until we get to hot stage separation. Super Heavy shuts down all but 3 engines, deeply throttles the remaining ones, stage 2 lights its, and flies away. We have stage separation, a directional flip. It's going to descend. We're going to do some landing burn experiments and then do a splashdown in the Gulf.
Meanwhile, ship continues on with its ascent burn, again reaching a planned suborbital trajectory. We'll attempt to deploy 8 Starlink simulator satellites and then head back for re-entry, where we'll be testing multiple experiments, including missing tiles, metallic tiles, and intentionally loading the vehicle's flaps. Ship will also attempt a flip maneuver, and if all goes as planned today, we'll conclude the test with a softwater splashdown in the Indian Ocean. So that's what we have on deck for Flight 10, which is just about 11 minutes, 40 seconds from launching.
That's right. And so just a quick status check-in. So as you said, we're about 11.5 minutes away. We have some good news. We got our latest range and weather status, and surprise, everything is looking green today. So that is, that's the biggest news that we were looking for. Again, weather is the main watch item for today. But we are green right now. We're not tracking any issues with the vehicle or ground systems, so we are looking pretty good for launch. We did all of our normal pre-flight checkouts with all the different vehicle and pad systems. At this very moment, we're almost done, or we're pretty far into our prop load on ship, and a little bit more to go on the booster.
Yep, looking closely, it looks like we're nearly closed out on ship, like Dan said, about 70% of the way through on both methane and LOX on the booster side. We'll continue loading prop for a while. We'll close out at about T minus 30 minutes, 20 seconds on ship, and then 30 seconds later, we'll finish up loading prop on the booster.
Yeah, so bottom line, a little over 10 minutes to go. Range is green, weather is green, vehicles looking healthy. We're looking good to launch right at the top of our window at 6:30 p.m. Central Time.
Can't wait. All right, now let's quickly talk about Mars, since everything we do is part of our foundational mission to get to the Red Planet. Each Starship launch is to learn more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary and to improve ship to the point where it's taking millions of people to Mars.
Yeah, we've shared the plan previously in the last couple of months. We're looking to start sending the very first Starships to Mars next year. These missions, not with people. We're just looking minimally viable landers, so let's just prove that we can get there. And so we're just going to focus on learning as much as possible, but looking at all of those different phases. You know, prop load, prop transfer on orbit, sending stuff out to Mars, doing the transit, doing the entry, and just doing a landing.
And in our next window, around 2028 to 2029, we're going to attempt to land the initial infrastructure and start delivering more equipment as well, while evaluating available resources on the Red Planet. And we will also have Optimus on board for the ride, who is designed to do the initial heavy lifting.
Oh, looks like we're doing some flap checkouts real quick on the ship as we are coming up on 9 minutes. Back to Mars, though, as those wrap up by about 2030, 2031, we'll continue to increase the payload per ship, build out more infrastructure out there on Mars's surface, start to mine some of those resources, set up some propellant generation plants, build up some fuel and some oxidizer to send Starships back from Mars. By the time we get all the way to 2033, we're looking to double the amount of payload we're sending with each ship as we get closer and closer to building a self-sustaining presence on the Red Planet.
Yeah, definitely lots of exciting missions ahead of us, and these are going to be crucial to setting up what we'll need for humans to eventually inhabit the planet, and we won't be doing this alone. The Italian Space Agency and SpaceX recently signed a first-of-its-kind agreement to carry Italian experiments on the first Starship missions to deliver customer payloads to Mars. So these payloads will include a plant growth experiment, a weather monitoring station, and also a radiation sensor to gather scientific data during Starship's approximately 6-month interplanetary coast phase from Earth to Mars, and also on the Martian surface.
It's a really exciting mission, makes showing up for work really fun for us. we're going to need to launch a whole lot more, though. So while we're just under 8 minutes away from launch today, let's head back over to Tyler and Hawthorne, talk a little bit about how we're going to be increasing the number of Starship launches going forward.
Real quick, I'm going to get ready to head out, guys.
So to put it plainly, in order to launch more Starships, we need to build more launch pads. And that's exactly what we're doing at Space Launch Complex 37 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Now, Pad 37 has a storied history, most recently with the Delta IV rocket and for the missions for the U.S. government.
All right, so I'm going to get ready to head outside. We're T-minus 7 minutes. All is go. All is green for launch. So I'm going to get ready to go outside. Real quick before I do, I just saw this one come in. Let's do this thing. Thank you to Tim and the team. $100 super chat from David. Thank you so much for that. Seriously, like, greatly appreciate that. Also, I'll just give one quick shout out to our merch shop. If you want to help us continue to do what I do like David, head on over to everydayastronaut.com/shop. We now have new youth tees, a new arrangement of our orbital tees. We got our Methalox shirt that has Starship Raptors on the back. We have our new metal Mercury model rockets. We're down to only like a dozen last night. So I don't know when these will get it back in stock to go along with, you know, our, we obviously have our Falcon 9 metal model rockets that are also almost sold out again. So if you want to help support the work we do here, everydayastronaut.com/shop. Take 15% off of the Methalox collection by using coupon code LAUNCHDAY. All one word, all lowercase. I'm going to go outside, get ready for launch. This is it, my friends. Let's hope we see this thing fly today. I'm ready for it. So let's go.
And meanwhile, at Launch Complex 39A, we're building Starship's infrastructure to support up to 44 launches and up to 88 landings a year, independent of operations at Pad 37. So with 2 launch complexes in Florida, we'll have the ability to fly up to 120 Starships annually, not including our flights from Starbase. So action is well underway in Florida. How's it looking in Texas?
Thanks, Tyler. Things are continuing to look good for launch here in Texas, so getting pretty close here with just under 6 minutes left. You mentioned Gigabay. We're currently laying the foundation for Gigabay here at Starbase as well, and we expect it to be up and running sometime next year. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of Starships on the way, and we're going to need more hands on deck. So come help us build the gateway to Mars. Visit spacex.com/careers to see all of our openings.
Yeah, I've been here for a couple of years now. Nowhere more magical, more inspirational on the planet. If you're a space nerd, you can come be like Amanda and build these things for real. It's pretty insane. It's super exciting. And yeah, come check us out. All right.
Absolutely. It's surreal to be here for sure. Okay, so we are looking like we're about 5 minutes away from launch and heading into terminal count. Range and weather are continuing to look good, and prop load continues on both stages of Starship. We'll close out here in just a minute or so.
Yeah, we're just about done. It looks like, let me grab my numbers real quick. We're not tracking any issues. We are just creeping up to 90% full on the locks on the booster, a little over 93% on ship, or sorry, fuel on the booster, and then ship we're just about to close out, so only a couple of minutes to go there. Once we're done, you've got just shy of 11 million pounds of liquid propellant on board those 2 different stages. We'll see a couple of final things happen. Well, you can't really see it. It's all going to be happening in our ground systems as we'll do pushbacks, clear all of the propellant out of those lines that are flowing up through the tower and into the vehicles, and get ready for launch. We just did our final guidance, navigation, and control system checkouts. Our flight safety system is being armed right now, and we're doing our final wiggle checks shortly with the engines on the thrust vector control. It's how we're steering the rocket. If we need to hold, which we are not currently tracking a reason to hold, that would come at T-minus 40 seconds. You saw us do that yesterday. We can hang out there for about 8 minutes or so right now. That's the point. It's built into the countdown. If we need to wait for clouds that just won't go the heck away or any other issues, we can hang out at T-minus 40 for a bit. But at the moment, we're not planning to do that.
Now, once we pass that T-minus 40-second mark, a number of events are going to occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems come up to flight pressure. Ship will switch over to internal power, and after that, the QD arm lockout is removed in preparation for retraction, which occurs shortly after T0. And once we pass that T-minus 40 seconds, we do still have the ability to then recycle the count under certain conditions back to T-minus 40 seconds and hold there to assess what happened, and if we can proceed again back down to liftoff.
That's right. We do have at least one point of no return, though, if the water-cooled flame deflector underneath the launch mount fires off. That happens a little bit after T-minus 10 seconds. That doesn't turn off once it starts going, so we would have to stand down for the day if we do hit a hold or an abort at that point, so we can refill water tanks. At this point, we're not sure if we'd be able to attempt tomorrow because we have fully loaded the vehicle. We have to do a lot of fancy scheduling to get propellant in here as fast as possible, but again, we've got a pretty heroic and amazing team that works all of those logistics, got us into our attempt today after we did a unplanned wet dress yesterday during our attempt. So really exciting to see. But we're coming up on 2 minutes. We've got a green range.
Oh,
we
man.
are green for weather. Green has always been my favorite color, only more so now. And we are not tracking any issues with
It's looking
the
beautiful here,
vehicle
guys.
today. So
It is
we are
looking
looking
beautiful.
good. 2 minutes to go.
Wow. I will say,
Yeah, again,
quick
not
reminder,
planning on
if you happen to
holding
be...
at T-minus 40 seconds
I'll
right
wait until
now,
it's
but
ducked out.
in case
If
we
you happen
do
to be
pass
watching
that
here
and any issues
locally, if
come
you
up, we
are
can
in
recycle the
person
count.
staring at Starship with your own
depending on the
eyeballs
event,
right now, but
this
you're
facility
hearing my voice,
doesn't have
do
that
not
built
forget
in.
there is a large latency between myself and even we have a 10-second delay or 12-second delay between the SpaceX feed and me, and then another 20 or 30 seconds up into the cloud and down to your devices. So when you see me at T-minus 1 minute, if you are still watching me, stop watching. You better be looking at the rocket. So that's right about now. If you're hearing this right now and you're seeing the rocket, start staring at the rocket because, yeah, that's going to line up with about when you'll see the water go up and everything's on time. So we are T-minus 1 minute. I'm going to listen in, and hopefully we don't miss anything. We do have to switch because of that latency. I will be talking. You'll hear our launch audio, so you hear the rumble, and you hear and feel what I'm experiencing.
1 minute to go to launch.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
All right, so
Let's
again,
go,
our hold
guys.
point comes up at T-minus 40, not tracking any reason to stop there, so we should see us go right through
There you go.
that.
30 seconds for me, guys, in real time.
All right, we are through T-minus 40. We are counting down. We're going to let our flight
Yes.
director, Maciek Batura, take us the rest of the way.
Here we go. We're
30 seconds. The
T-minus
10th
15 seconds.
liftoff will start.
So again, we're gonna duck down their audio for now, just so you don't have weird sync issues and all that stuff. So when you're watching, you're gonna hear the actual launch audio with our good microphones and everything. So here we go, and ignition, baby. Yes, come on, and liftoff of Starship Flight 10. Finally, one of the last version 2 boosters and ships lifting off. Beautiful liftoff. Oh my word, that is absolutely stunning. Oh, the mock diamonds are just hopping today. Oh, and now we're starting to hear it. See, I can see shockwaves emitting as it's coming out of the engines. It is stunning, and it's ascending into bright daylight, reflecting off of it. Again, we're hoping to see a fantastic launch here today, and we're hoping that version 2 Starship finally gets a chance of redemption after 3 failed attempts to get all the way to the Indian Ocean. So, yes! You know, sometimes it's bittersweet. Sometimes when we have these scrubs and problems and scrubs, when you see that and feel that, it makes it all so much better. Oh man, it's flying into a little bit of a cloud for me right now, but that sound is fantastic. Let's get the X feed pulled up here, make sure everything's good on their stream. And I'm still seeing what looks like a good set of engines going, so this is awesome. Holy crap. Maximum aerodynamic pressure. We are looking good.
All right, so we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, max stress on the vehicle as it continues to fly.
Our next major event is going to be hot staging, which is happening in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will
We'll
shut
get the
down all
SpaceX
but 3
views
of its
up on
Raptor
screen here,
engines.
too.
The clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship second stage ignites its engines. The ship then separates from the Super Heavy booster and heads to space. At the same time, the 3 engines still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on the path for splashdown.
That's it. Let's just keep on the SpaceX feed.
As we mentioned earlier, the hot stage will be jettisoned for this flight, and that should occur just after the boost back burn. So we're about to shut down the first stage and perform hot staging. So let's just watch and listen.
All right, so we're gonna hopefully see hot staging here. For me, I'll see it about 10, 12 seconds before it happens in real life, so I'll be reporting a little bit early for you guys. I still see 33 engines glowing bright, or the reflection, but we will hopefully see, looks like most engines shut down there. You can kind of see a little bit of gas. You can see, and there's hot staging. That is so cool. I can't wait to see that at night.
Seeing the engine start to throttle down.
All right. I didn't see an explosion afterwards, so it's looking clean so far.
MECO.
Oh, that's so cool. Gosh, that just...
Ship ignition.
Come on. That is
Boost
so...
back startup. Stage separation.
And we have good 6 Raptors on ship.
Stage separation confirmed. We've got 6 engines running on ship. Booster is doing its boost back burn, continuing now towards its splashdown site in the Gulf.
Ship
We are
Raptor
seeing
chamber
all 6
pressure is
Raptors
nominal.
lit up on ship.
Might be down 1 Raptor on the middle ring there. But maybe they're saving that one for the relight.
You heard them report ship chamber pressure is nominal, so that chamber pressure, just that expected thrust level in those Raptor engines on the ship. 3 vacuum optimized, 3 sea level, all looking good.
Man, guys, you can see the venting. Like, I can see the vents. That's actually how I was able to respot Starship, is when it's venting out those ullage gases as attitude control. It is crazy.
There's a view into the business end from the ship.
Boost back burn shutdown.
And what's nuts is that it's about to be falling. Now it is officially falling. That's a big
Right, so at
vent.
this point, we finished our boost back burn, so that was shut down. So that's the first of the 2 burns after a launch that the booster is going to do today. So now it's headed towards the Gulf. It's not going to be quite as an aggressive of a flight down. We relaxed that angle of attack a little bit, but we are then going to be looking for it to do its engine tests for the landing burn, and those are going to be a little unique this time.
Look at those tracking
typically we
views.
start with all 13 inner engines lit for that landing burn and bring that down to just the center 3. But one of our test objectives for today is to simulate what an engine out situation would look like. So we're going to be intentionally turning off one of those center 3 and instead lighting one of the engines from the middle 10 ring.
Yeah, we did see one of those engines in the middle ring shut down during the initial ascent. Oh, looks like we have hot stage jettison. You can see it floating away there to the left of the booster. Yeah, we did see one of those middle engines shut down during the ascent. Again, we are resilient to engine out on Super
Starship
Heavy.
Flight
That's why we're
nominal
able to get
trajectory.
through our ascent.
You can just see it just falling. It is crazy. Like, it's
Starship
so big
flying
and so
on the
obvious.
expected path. There's still a chance that engine could be back in the mix for the very start of the landing burn, so we'll see if we light up all
And don't
13.
forget
But we've even done a landing burn at the tower with an engine out, so very resilient. We'll see how it does on its way down to the Gulf.
Wow. It is cruising. Oh, that does not get old. That is so cool.
Right, so we got a couple of minutes. That landing burn start should be just about 40 seconds away.
Look at the shot, the tracking shot from our team. That is incredible.
That's always rad. You can see the boost plume itself in the background as it was coming in.
Don't forget, you'll actually see it a little bit ahead of time here.
Right, about 20 seconds to landing burn.
Okay. It didn't blow up on engine ignition. That's, I think, better than last time, pretty
Ship
much.
Raptor chamber pressure is nominal.
And they're down to the middle engines, likely using one from the
All right,
oh,
here we
that's
go.
cool. Let's pull up.
Landing
Yeah, I want
burn
to see what the engines are doing here. And a simulated engine out.
Looks like
Confirmed.
we got 12 of those 13.
Yep.
Down to 3,
And a
including
nice
one in the middle
looking.
ring.
Yes, that's what they wanted to do. Remember, that was the plan, was to cut the engines, stop vertical
Down to
velocity,
2.
and then just let it fall. And they
Nice
did.
little
And it
hover.
was awesome.
And landing burn shutdown.
Yes. And watch on the SpaceX feed.
Into
Just
the Gulf,
falls.
here we come. And the booster has splashed down.
Oh, that was great.
Incredible flight for booster today.
That was perfect. That's what they were looking to do exactly.
Meanwhile, back in space. About 7 minutes into today's flight, ship continuing its ascent burn. This goes until just about 9 minutes into our flight. That ship engine cutoff is slated for 8 minutes and 57 seconds. We are going to see those 3 RVAC, the Raptor vacuum engines. Those are the bigger circles in that little indicator on the bottom right of your screen. Those will shut down first, and we continue burning for a couple seconds longer on those inner 3 before we hit SECO, or second engine cutoff.
I'm going to go inside while to really study this thing. So 1 second.
Yeah, these views are looking great. Once again, thanks to Starlink for getting us these views. It's just incredible. And we just heard the sound from booster.
It's like we just got a late boom from the booster.
Okay, we need a clean. Come on. Give us a nice, clean cutoff. By the way, I just heard
ship engine cutoff coming up here just shortly. And as we mentioned, today's flight test is not an orbital flight, but rather one that demonstrates Starship's orbital capability.
Starship is on terminal guidance.
I just heard the sonic boom, by the way, right when I was coming inside.
All right, entering the final phase of this burn. Under 30 seconds to go.
Come on, guys. Nice and clean. Still see a hot spot on one of those Raptors. We see that all the time.
All right, shut down the vacuum engines.
And then they'll shut down the 3 sea level engines, which can kind of help maintain attitude control.
Ship
There we
engine
go.
cutoff.
We shut down those center 3. Successful ship engine cutoff.
I love how they have an orientation thing on screen now, too, so you can see which direction the vehicle's pointing. And its orientation in
SECO,
space.
baby. There
That
we
is
go.
cool.
That's what we want.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Yes.
All right, we just heard the call out for nominal orbital insertion.
Finally. Looking much better.
All right, so ship
Flaps
is
moving.
in space. There we go.
Flaps are
See
moving.
the flaps starting to move into a stowed position. That's why it looks like your camera's moving.
Yeah, exciting to see Starship safely in space, and super pumped to see all the team's hard work in action here today. And of course, as guaranteed, it's been an exciting day so far. We successfully lifted off right on time at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Thankfully, our weather was looking good today. Yeah, and booster, we had our soft splashdown in the Gulf, so ship continues on.
Yeah, ship able to complete its ascent burn all the way in. You can see some of the shadows start to creep as it's going to be
A lot of
eventually
ice.
flying into an orbital nighttime. So we'll see some daylight start to go away. But ship is in orbit, completed its burn. And, I mean, that's just the beginning. Now we've got a whole bunch more to go. So we've got some exciting demonstrations
Ship
planned
FTS is
while
saved.
we're on orbit. That right there, we just saved the FTS, the flight termination system. That's that automatic flight safety system we have on the vehicle. So that is now turned off while ship starts its coast period. We are coming up. Our next milestone is going to be the deployment of those Starlink simulators.
7 minutes.
We've got some payload inside of Starship that we're hoping to deploy into space for the very first time.
They won't be in orbit,
That deploy
remember.
is supposed to start at about 18 minutes and 27 seconds into the flight, so just about 7 minutes from now. That deploy will take place over a couple of minutes. It'll go about 1 satellite a minute, so we'll be spread out over that. It might get a little dark, but we've got a couple of views that we can show you to see that deploy in action. After that, we're also looking to do a relight of a single Raptor engine while we are in space. We've done this once before. This is not necessary to deorbit, as we are in a suborbital trajectory, but this is essentially a chance to test out what we need to be able to do a deorbit burn. So we'll be doing that a little bit later in the flight, about 37 minutes or so into the
Hopefully
flight.
that's just ice, kind of
And
like
then we
metallic.
get into reentry. We're looking to get that light show and, more importantly, get that really critical data about the ship's heat shield.
Yeah, exactly. At about T plus 45 minutes, we'll be heading for reentry. Again, running those experiments with the tiles. We're going to be doing missing tiles, metallic tiles, and also intentionally loading those vehicles' flaps. Hopefully, we'll also see a splashdown in the Indian Ocean today.
Yeah, we were able to get to a reentry last time, but we didn't have full attitude control, so we weren't able to go in, heat shield first the way we're designed to. So we ended up losing contact with the ship before we could make it all the way through.
That looks like ice.
So you still get data, but you're not really getting the data that we want to make sure we're kind of stress testing the vehicle. As Amanda just said, we removed a bunch of tiles, and we do this in some intentionally scary places on the vehicle because we're really looking, are there spots that were vulnerable to this? Before we ever start moving towards, putting ship into a full orbital mission to then do reentries a little bit later on. So really, really critical to get that data, really looking forward to a controlled reentry.
And so far...
Yeah, for sure. As we always say, our main payload is data. But today we also have some actual payload on board, and those simulators that Starship will be deploying, we'll see coming up here in just a few minutes. These are dummy satellites that are about the same size as our V3 Starlinks. We have 8 in the Starship PEZ dispenser and expect to deploy at a rate of about 1 per minute, as Dan mentioned earlier. Starlink is critical in all of our flights on Starship to get our main payload data, as we always say.
Sunset.
And in fact, it's Starlink that's currently providing these views you see as Starship cruises a couple hundred kilometers above our home planet and provides real-time telemetry through every phase of flight.
Yeah, we took a peek inside of the Starship payload bay there for a second. So there's 8 of them. They kind of look just big steel plates, essentially. They're roughly the same size as those V3 satellites. When we do get that view inside of the payload bay, the payload door will kind of be on your right, and we'll start to see them go out like a PEZ dispenser. Yeah, here's a look inside. So those right down there in the center, they're kind of 2 stacks of 4 on either side. And then the payload door is just to their right. And so we'll look to see that open, and then those satellites start to go. We vent the nose cone, so we essentially bring it down to vacuum before we open the door. That was one of the things we ran into on the last flight, as when we had that fuel diffuser fail, the pressure in the nose cone became basically too high for the actuator of the door to open. So that's why we weren't able to get the door open that time. We have not seen anything like that on this flight. Everything's looking good with our fuel tank and our fuel press system. So we are hopefully just a couple of minutes away from seeing that payload
Look at all
door
that.
open and getting to our
Looks
first
like they
ever
might be
payload.
starting to...
It's not the first payload we've ever carried,
That banana.
but it's the first one we're going to try and shoot off into space.
By the way, you can see the attitude controls much more controlled this time. Very slowly slewing around.
So I think we're supposed to open the payload door in just about a minute and change.
Looks like
And
there's definitely been
you're seeing a little
pressurization.
bit of residual gas. And we opened the door once. I want to say it was back on Flight 3 when we were able to make it up into space. And you'll kind of see a lot of that gas rushing out into the vacuum of space. It's the residual that's left over after we've already vented it down. So kind of a cool light show. And then we'll get ready to deploy those payloads out.
So they are slowly slewing so that they can deploy these and then be able to be facing retrograde, basically. Have the engine pointing retrograde so they can do that engine relay
As
test.
we mentioned,
so that's why
we
it's
have
slewing
crossed
around.
over now at this point into an orbital nighttime, so views from the outside will get pretty dark, but we'll see what we can see. We do this by design. We've been launching these later in the day here in Texas to try and get daytime views when we splash down. So it's daytime over in the Indian Ocean, where we are currently headed.
Just a few
Heck yeah.
seconds until we expect those payload doors to open.
How? I'm afraid I can't do that.
All right, one more time. Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, gas venting, which means the door's likely opening. Look at that. Wow. It's that sealed. You can see it raising on the right there. You can see a little lip raising. Kind of hard to tell, but it's opening. It's opening. Finally. Finally. I'm impressed with how sealed it was.
Payload deploy prep.
Yes. I shouldn't be so excited about a stupid tiny door, but here we are.
And the door is open.
Dan. Sounds like he doesn't want to curse it. And the door is open. Don't scare the door. All right. So the next thing is
the payload door is open. We should see the first satellite start to deploy at about T plus 18 minutes and 27 seconds. So be only about 30 seconds. So one step closer. Hal listened this time. He cooperated. Cool. He opened the payload door for us.
That looks like way more legitimate hardware too now.
You're looking out into the vacuum of space.
About 15 seconds until payload deploy.
All right. Can they do a payload deploy? There goes a trading card or something.
Transition to payload deploy.
Someone's business card. Oh. Did that happen? The things we get excited about. Oh, we see some movement. And here it goes. The first payload to ever be ejected from a Starship prototype. Intentionally. Uh-oh. Don't get stuck there. I think it might have just got stuck there. Maybe? Maybe it worked.
Pew pew. Been waiting way too long to do that. There we go.
Oh, that's just the back of the thing pushing. So that part, or let's see if this one goes a little smoother.
There goes another
There it goes. Oh, that is cool. Oh, that's really cool. A little boop on the door on the way out, I think. Now remember, these are suborbital.
As you can hear the energy in both
so they will re-enter.
Starbase. Everyone's super excited for finally getting to deploy some of those simulated satellites.
So they will re-enter.
Pez system moving down. Next
That's
row.
Cool.
There we go. As we said, we're going to do about one every minute or so. And this is just kind of a dress rehearsal for when we're going to be deploying the V3 satellites. And these are just a massive, massive increase to Starlink's capability. Each one of them has its 60 terabits per second of capacity that's going to get added to the network per launch. That's 20 times more than what we're adding with every single Falcon 9 launch today, which, you know, step increase in capability. There goes another one.
I kind of feel like they're playing around with the rates a little bit. Like this one's going to deploy a little bit at a higher rate. This one's going to be a little slower. So they can get some data on like what is the best way to yeet these things out that little door. That's cool. That's really satisfying.
All right, so as we said, we've got 8 total that we're going to go through today. It's about a minute for each one, but looking good on payload deploy.
That's really cool. It does seem like it boops on the way out a little bit. It's crazy to see the chain spinning. A Starlink chant. So again, these are just demonstrators. These are payload dummies, but they're a similar mass and size to the Starlink version 3 satellites that Starship will be deploying on some of the earliest missions. So they're just testing out if the system works to deploy.
All right, so we're about halfway through. When we actually start launching the V3 Starlinks on Starship, we're going to be flying about 60 each time. So it'll be about an hour to get through a full stack. But again, it's just going to be a massive increase in the amount of bandwidth. It's going to enable, gigabit upload, download for people with Starlink, anywhere on the planet.
Now I see why I thought that first one got stuck.
Starlink is just a tremendous part of just the Starship flight test program.
Yeah, absolutely. Always getting us that data, and yeah, the amazing views we have on the vehicle today.
So the back one pushes the front one out.
Starlink of us deploying Starlink simulators before we deploy actual Starlinks. How deep does it go? All right, another one firing out.
Now, if they just have one camera on one of those dummy satellites, please, just please. This is very satisfying, though, to see it finally working out. The excitement of, yeah, here comes another
looking
one.
Smooth today.
The vending machine. I'm sure the team on this are happy to have a little bit more time. Like if this had been the first launch, it would have been so jank and probably a very antiquated system. And now, like, they have a pretty well thought out and well engineered system by the time they're actually able to start deploying. I mean, it looks legit. Like, it looks like aerospace hardware instead of just like a quick weld. I mean, it looks like a lot of CNC'd hardware there. It looks way more legitimate than some of the first things inside the payload bay.
All right, looks like we've got one left.
Almost there.
Looks like we're going 8 for 8. Yep, so then it backs up so it can throw itself out.
There you go, one remaining. So 7 of the 8 have been deployed. One more to go. And then we will have completed our first ever payload deploy operation. Just a reminder, we're on a suborbital trajectory. These satellites on that exact same suborbital trajectory, they're going to burn up entirely and are on that same trajectory towards the Indian Ocean. So the last one has been deployed. Starlink simulator payload complete. Heck yeah, everybody.
That's so cool.
Loving the energy from Starbase and Hawthorne.
Yes, congrats. Finally, some good progress.
Now it's empty. Looking a little lonely, but
successfully deployed all the simulator satellites.
Really, really cool to see them all out there. Again, people that have followed know Starlink's really critical for the Starship program, in addition to, getting all those views back from the cameras on Starship, which this is an external view. As I said, it's dark outside right now. The lights are off, so it's going to be hard to make stuff out. But in a little while, the sun's going to start coming up as we get to reentry, which is going to be really critical. We use Starlink for Starship data. Cameras also use it on the cameras that we use to bring you views of these launches and also, hopefully, of the reentry and splashdown. We'll see what we get from the Indian Ocean today. And that's just kind of how it all comes together. Like, we're using Starlink on the planet, off the planet. With Starship, we actually get pretty insane. If you're in the space industry, bandwidth to space is usually pretty minimal. We get about 120 megabits per second. That's split between our high-definition video and real-time telemetry. We get that every phase of flight, including reentry. So it's not just giving us views of reentry, but we're getting all of that engineering data in real time through phases that it used to be impossible to get that in real time. So just really incredible.
Yeah, Starlink definitely affords us all this capability. And reminder, it's the world's largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet. This provides internet access to people all around the world, many of whom had never had connectivity before. Today, Starlink serves more than 150 countries, territories, and other markets with over 6 million active customers and counting. To meet the growing global demand for high-speed internet, SpaceX expanded its factory in Bastrop, Texas, and also introduced Starlink Mini, as well as an upgraded version of the Starlink Standard kit.
All right, now with payload deploy complete, pew, 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 Starship is now going to close its payload bay door and continue to coast towards Earth, around Earth, towards the Indian Ocean. Sorry, I'm really excited today. We are in space, people. Still a lot of major events to come, though. We are looking to relight one of those Raptor engines at about 37 minutes, 33 seconds into the flight, followed by atmospheric entry, hell of a light show, and splashdown. So we're going to go on a quick break, take a quick coast, sit back, enjoy the views. A little bit dark now, but they'll get better soon. A couple of space jams. We'll be back in just a few minutes for that Raptor relight and then re-entry. See you soon.
Sick. So we have about 10 minutes now, yeah, for Raptor Relight, or what is it? Yeah, about 10 minutes on the dot almost between now and that Raptor Relight test. And then pretty soon after that, we should hopefully be getting into daylight, and or the other fun thing that you see is you start to see the plasma glowing on the outside of the vehicle, and that starts to illuminate the vehicle so you can actually see what's going on. Because right now, like they said, they're completely in darkness. They're now flying almost on the same longitude as, like, they're getting close to the, to Spain and the west coast of Africa. So they, it's dark there now. If you live there, you know this. So Starship's there. It is not able to see the sun from where it's at, and so it's dark. The views will just get better. I'm loving this, guys. This is awesome. This is exactly what I was hoping to see. From here on out, honestly, I mean, I hope and assume the Raptor Relight test will go well. If that does, even if it doesn't make it down to splashdown, it would be understandable because they are pushing it to the limits. They're doing some extreme angle tests. They have a lot of heat shield tiles removed. They're looking for data. They're not looking to actually land this thing and then recover it or anything. They don't care. They want to see what fails. So as long as it starts to re-enter and can maintain orientation, get data out of these new flaps. The flaps are different. They have not made it to this point under control where they could actually get good data on, do these flaps do what we expect them to do? Are they an improvement over version 1? Where are we at with the flaps? So I'm loving this. This is great. This is really, really great. So let's answer some questions. We got a little bit of time here in between coast phase. Thank you all so much for watching. The show is still going on. There's still a lot of exciting things to come. Raptor Relay is going to be awesome, but the big showstopper, the big nail biter this time on this launch is literally going to be if we see it re-enter, and how far into re-entry do we see it? Does it happen to make it all the way to splashdown? So that's going to be the big one, and that comes up, by the way, for those of you curious, entry phase begins around 47 minutes, so only in 15 minutes. Raptor Relight begins at 37 minutes and 50 seconds, basically. 1 hour and 3 minutes, we'll see it well into, it's now transonic. So, yeah, that's when it's coming down below hypersonic. So, then in about 45 seconds, or in a minute and 15 seconds later, it'll be subsonic. So, yeah, we're looking at around an hour's when stuff's, 40, 48, 50 minutes to an hour's when it's going to get real spicy. You're going to see a lot of plasma. You're going to see a lot of interesting stuff happening, and that's where it's going to get really exciting. So, only 19 minutes, so grab yourself a beverage, get a little snack, hang out, ask some questions. I'll fly through as many of them as I can. Let's get to a few of them. Sorry, what was that? Got it. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to do, while I have you here, the first thing we're going to do real quick is, again, say thank you to everyone that is watching. And if you want to help support the show, there's a few things you can do. And the one, I only talk about this about once or twice on air because I don't want to just sit here and be like, hey, buy our merch. But it really does help. It's what, we have a team of 6 people flying in to be able to run the show, people up in the cloud running shows, doing things, trackers, equipment, electricity, flights, all of the things, taco fund. But if you want something cool for yourself, we do now have 3 new orbital shirts. The orbital shirt we've had it for about 2 years, but I secretly had like these other ones, colorways that I've been wearing. And then I realized I like these better than the black one. And we finally just put them in the store, and we finally have some new youth tees. I know a lot of people have been asking for shirts for their kids. And you can find those if you click on the little hamburger thing, you can get those under kids apparel. You'll see we actually have a handful of new kids shirts. So orbital, pointy end up, flaming end down, and we'd still have some other baby and youth tees as well. So get those while you can before they are gone. And then, of course, the big one, though, is the Mercury rockets. We are almost sold out of these before the show. They are still available, it looks like, but we're down to like literally probably less than 10, I would guess. But these are our 1/100 scale metal not Falconites. These are the Mercury programs, the Mercury Atlas, Mercury Redstone. And these are awesome. And they actually come with little stands this time, little display stands. And they're to the same scale. This is the important part. They're to the same scale as our Falcon 9. So you can actually have your own garden. And yeah, I'm really excited about that because I think 1/100 makes the most sense. And also we have 15% off of our Methalox collection as well. So if you want 15% off today, use coupon code LAUNCHDAY, all one word, all lowercase. And that's pretty much where we're at for the stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoy the merch. I always appreciate you guys. When I see it in person, it's like, that is the coolest thing ever. So I appreciate all the support. So yeah, head on over to everydayastronaut.com/shop if you want to pick up something for yourself or a loved one. And I greatly appreciate it. So let's keep going here. I think I had a comment up that this is from Saber Saturn. I think they moved the flaps there to break the ice off the hinges. I think they had issues with icing before. That might be why they do that initial flap movement. Once it's kind of in coast phase, they do that initial flap movement, and then that allows that might break off some of the ice so it doesn't cause issues later on. Because there is a lot of ice. Don't forget, this vehicle is filled with cryogenic propellant. So the tanks are really cold. There's condensation that builds up. There's ice that builds up on the outside. That's why you see it breaking off. And as that vehicle is changing temperature, cooling down, the vehicle is like growing and stretching and venting and all these pops and whirs and all this stuff. And that's normal. So ice breaks off. We see it all the time. And so it looks crazy because it goes in all directions. You're in space, so you have all these things, and you might have plume interactions with some of the ullage gas thrusters going off, and you'll see ice get caught up in it and thrown away. So cool, so fascinating. Thank you so much from Adrian Walkenhorst. Best stream, best views, 60% of the time, works all the time. Like I said, I am so thankful that the team was able to cobble stuff together. And they talk a lot about Starlink on this stream specifically because that's obviously one of the big missions for Starship is to continue growing the Starlink constellation. We are 100% reliant on Starlink today. If we didn't have Starlink today, our stream would have been absolutely gone. We have so many other sources of data here, and everything started failing. So Starlink is carrying this show on its shoulders. So I am thankful. Ironically, the thing that this is going to deploy is being used to cover the way it's going to be deploying. Like, it just seems really crazy. So shout out to the Starlink team because they make it work. I can't believe the internet is still this horrid in South Padre and in the area around here, Port Isabel and stuff like that. It's unbelievably bad. The company should be ashamed, and this is proof of why I don't think this is why the free market system doesn't always work the best, because there's no incentive to provide better internet out here, and people had opportunities to provide good internet to places like this, and they just simply didn't. They just provide crap service that fails all the time, and luckily Starlink is an alternative for us that has been working. So very thankful for that. Very thankful. Let's go. Another Lex Friedman cameo. Lex, thank you so much. Saying, LFG, what a time to be alive. P.S. The merch looks so cool. I'll buy some now. Well, thank you so much, Lex. I love you, man. And thanks for popping in here. It really makes me smile. I love that you are also enthusiastic about this stuff and that you're paying attention to humanity's future as we go and explore. That is awesome. Everyone say hi to Lex. If you're not familiar with Lex Friedman, one of the absolute best podcasters out there. I love how he does such a good job of talking to humans as humans, even with varying opinions and varying. I've always appreciated the way he's able to hold a conversation with someone, and I think that's an art that I don't want lost, because it seems like people are sometimes afraid to talk to people, and I think that's the way you solve problems, and that's the way you make the world a better place, is by conversing and hearing each other out and loving each other first and foremost, and then problems get solved after that. So thank you so much, Lex. I have another good one that I like to. This is from Dustin Denton, the biggest CD changer in history. I love that. By the way, we're almost coming up on that Raptor Relight, so I do want to make sure we're getting close to that. So yeah, that again is coming up at probably right in about 30 seconds or so. So you're likely seeing them using the ullage gas to settle the propellant into the tanks, so that when they light the engines spin up and they're sucking in the liquid propellant instead of just sucking in gas bubbles. So it seems like that's exactly what we're seeing now, is just a lot of the venting as they're trying to settle and get that propellant ready for engine ignition. So, okay, we'll listen in here.
And shut down.
Nice.
All right, looks like we confirmed the relight of one of those center Raptor engines. Second time we've done that. Super exciting. Huge congrats to the team on this milestone. Yes. Very exciting to see.
That was a cool light show. Yeah, I get to do a mini version here. So again, that's going to be really critical for when we're doing deorbit burns. Like as you're going through, which if you don't have one of these, my God, they're so much fun. But like you're able to actually like light. Oh man, Dan, turn it on. Light that engine. Not set my co-host on fire. And that's what we'll eventually do to, break out of orbit, come back down to Earth. So really cool to see one of those engines light back up again in space. That was our last in-space thing.
Very exciting. We're going to be heading back for reentry at about T plus 45 minutes. So we're going to take another quick break, and we will see you soon.
Let's go. Okay, so now you see just a black screen, and that's normal, because it has not begun reentry. But you do start to see it glowing pretty soon. In the next few minutes, you'll start to see the plasma start to build up and all that stuff. So like I said, the show is really still going on, and the most exciting part is going to be from about 50 minutes on is really when you see the reentry and landing stuff happen. And then at 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 38 seconds would be the potential for it to be splashing down softly if it makes it that far. So again, okay if it doesn't make it that far these times. They're pushing these things, they're doing things intentionally, removing heat shield tiles, trying weird different heat shield tiles, using steep angles of attack, trying out these new flaps for the first time. So they are okay if they lose this thing on reentry. That's not necessarily the point. The point is to push it and see where it fails. So we've seen them do that before, and we've seen them succeed. So who knows if maybe a similar thing will happen. I did push a comment, and I wanted to make sure and say it again. Dustin Denton said the biggest CD changer in history. For those of you... Oh, by the way, we do have some debris, it looks like, on that flap, right? That does look like some metal had a bad day somehow. Right? Dang. That's crazy. It looks like a T-1000 in Terminator when he, if anyone, again, 80s kid, gets hit by like a big mortar or like a shotgun or something, and it gets all splayed out, and that looks gnarly. How could that have happened? I mean, it might just be superficial more or less on the back side, but it certainly does look like there's already some damage to those aft flaps. So that's looking, basically, we're looking from, that was looking from about here, looking down at the flap to about here. So kind of this hinge area is what was showing up as having some damage. And I'm not actually sure what could have caused that, to be honest. I mean, there's a small chance it could have been one of the engines. We don't see any signs that the engines are kerblonkt. This is It's always exciting. That's the fun thing about Starship, is it's always exciting. Is it already coming into daylight, or is it just getting brighter from... Let's see. What time is it? Is it night in time in Madagascar? 3:12 a.m. I don't think it's light there yet. So that is just venting from the cold gas. I think they literally have lights on the vehicle. So I don't know how else the venting would even get illuminated. It's not reacting. That orientation, by the way, is looking good. We want that nose pointed up, you know, roughly a 70-ish degree angle. I don't remember what the exact, knowing SpaceX team is probably a 69-degree angle. That looks good, though. That looks like it's nice and controlled. It's looking good. So, from Frank from Disney saying, I hope they call this delivery system Starvana. I missed this from KJ Shy, $50. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate that. That is awesome. Greatly expected. So RC from the New York City. Okay, so when can we expect the earth-shattering kaboom? Well, we didn't really have it this time. We had another big from David Elliott. Thank you so much, David, as well. $50. Thank you so much for the emote. Greatly appreciate that. You are awesome. You guys, with those super chats like this, is definitely making a huge difference. Let's see here. This is from Mark asking, looks like the door closed. Okay, do they repressurize the payload bay door? I bet they would, actually, because I'm sure there's some structural rigidity inherent when you have... So I think we're seeing plasma already. Does that make sense? 110 kilometers in altitude. Either it's plasma or a fire. Oh, you have a better sense of that. Whatever ripped that thing apart. What could have done that? Unless it looks like it was like ripped off. Like something did energetically do something there. And not just like, oh, because you do have to remember now while it's re-entering, some of those, they put a few heat shield tiles like on the inside of the flaps, like on here. And those will experience a negative pressure. So when something's in space, there's no pressure differential. Everything's experiencing, you know, basically zero atmosphere. So everything, there's no differential. Now, if you have, well, that doesn't make sense because there'd have to be airflow over it. So I don't know. I'm still just confused. This is the nose flap here we're looking at. It is plasma time, though. It is plasma time happening at 44 minutes already. Good angle of attack going, too. Look at the angle of attack, the indicator down there next to the Earth in the bottom right. Nice orientation there. We want it to be, you know, pitched up like that. That's what they're looking for. And then they can use the flaps to open and close and help maintain, you know, the correct attitude there. So this is looking good. This is looking really good. Nice and controlled. This is the first time we're seeing these newer flaps be used. So you can see some of the heat shield tiles there. Some have been torn off on that leeward side of the flap. I think they kind of put them there for testing purposes, just to see how certain ones fare in certain conditions in certain places. It's all data. It is all data. Thank you, David, so much for your super chat. And Butol and Tyler Lutz, good to hear from you. 28 months of membership. Thank you so much. A good question from Ben. Have they solved the radiation during transit to Mars? There's no such thing really as solving. There's things you can do to mitigate risk, right? There's things you can do to mitigate exposure. Going out to Mars is not that different from staying on the International Space Station for 6 months. There's a higher radiation exposure, yes, because you're outside of the Earth's, magnetosphere. You're outside of the Earth's protective, basically the atmosphere can protect, what's it called? I'm blanking right now, but yeah. When you're in low Earth orbit, you're still kind of within the Earth's magnetosphere, and it protects you and deflects a decent amount of radiation. It's not like you get outside of that, and all of a sudden the background radiation is so strong you're just going to die, right? You're not going to get acute radiation poisoning. It's cumulative. So the longer you're exposed to whatever level of radiation, it all just builds up over time, right? So going on to Mars, you could go to Mars and back and spend 2.5 years on that journey, and it really wouldn't be like that much worse than someone that smokes cigarettes. You know, we're talking about an increased risk of cancer, but it's not like it's a death wish. And so you can do things like you can point, whoa, that was certainly energetic. That was certainly energetic. What was that? That looked like a COPV just let go. I think we had a COPV just let go. And boy, oh boy, did that seem to damage that aft flap. We are missing a flap now, I think. Or not quite. No, it's still there. But that was energetic. Holy crap. That was crazy. I'm going to listen in here.
Trying to kind of push this vehicle to the limits to learn what its limits are as we design our next version of Starship. So 47 minutes, 45 seconds into the flight, excitement ticking up a little bit on reentry already, but the light show is continuing. This reentry is going to take about 20 minutes or so until our planned splashdown. We were trying to splash down about 1 hour and 6 minutes into the flight.
Wait, so what changes its planned splashdown?
Yeah, and one day Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are obviously no runways or other humans to help us out. So we are doing propulsive landing instead of more traditional means such as parachutes. And propulsive landing enables us to have more rapid reusability with these vehicles.
Yeah, the ship itself, it's a little over 50 meters tall. We've got those 6 engines on board, the 3 vacuum, the 3 sea level, and they're down in that aft skirt region, which
flaps have control.
All right, so at this point, the flaps have control. That means we're getting into a dense enough part of the atmosphere that the flaps can start controlling us. We're not only reliant on those kind of reaction control system thrusters.
We're going to continue hearing some callouts as the ship makes its way back to Earth. So when we hear entry max heating and entry max Q, that will mean the ship has made it through the maximum heating and aerodynamic loads it will experience as it returns. So if it makes it through those, we can say we're doing pretty well.
I will say I'm happy Reentry cleaned off this camera for us. It was a little dirty from the weather, so thank you, Plasma, for giving us this view as we start coming down.
Boy, a lot of debris coming off, though. Curious how far this can make it in this kind of condition.
The hit we saw to the skirt, definitely interesting. I will note, when we started doing these missing tile tests, we were intentionally removing them only in the skirt, as that's, you know, that's not over your fuel tanks or anything else that's kind of structurally critical for keeping the entire vehicle together. That obviously exposes your engines. So that could do some things for our landing burn. But for now, we are obviously continuing with this reentry. We are committed. Indian Ocean, here we come. 50 minutes since launch. We're going to see those colors start to build up a little bit. We are at the point where we're in dense enough atmosphere that the flaps have control.
Currently venting gas, though, which might be additional
about
attitude
74
control.
kilometers in altitude. You were starting to see some sunlight, so we intentionally time these launches right now so we have daylight. The sun should actually come up over the horizon on Starship in about 3 minutes. So as we get a little bit further into this reentry, that inky black below you is going to start to look like clouds and hopefully a bright blue ocean as we make our way down onto the other side of the planet. We've got these cameras. These cameras are really cool. We added these several flights ago, looking directly at the flaps.
Wow.
As not just the heat shield, but these flaps, how they're able to control the vehicle, withstand that reentry, the seal locations, so kind of where they connect to the ship itself are some of the most critical. We will do missing tiles on those where, again, we're trying to... we're kind of being mean to this Starship a little bit. We're really trying to put it through the paces and kind of poke on what some of its weak points are. I mean, we even have missing tiles over some of those fuel tank sections of the ship itself. And so we're really trying to see what are our limits. We're doing this over a completely empty area over the Earth.
So crazy.
Look at our Raptors there. We are, assuming we make it all the way down to the ocean in one piece, we will attempt a flip and a landing burn. We do have at least one buoy, everybody's favorite camera person, out in the Indian Ocean right now, being powered by Starlink. So that's at our planned landing location. So if we're able to get any live views of the ship, that'll essentially tell you that we nailed our target. Able to do that on our 6th flight test, do it in the daytime, which was really exciting.
Oh, that's a cool view. Man, it has been taking a beating. You can see it. That almost looks like that's that flap.
All right, so we're about 10 minutes until we're probably going to start hearing some of the other big milestones coming up.
Yep, in about 10 minutes, like Dan said, Starship will be transonic. This is going to be the period of flight where the velocities of airflow surrounding and flowing past the vehicle are concurrently below, at, and above the speed of sound, so somewhere in the range of Mach 0.8 to 1.2. For reference, commercial jets have a range of cruising speeds, but most of them fly at speeds between Mach 0.74 and Mach 0.85, so that's 480 to 575 miles per hour or 770 to 930 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, and after transonic comes subsonic. That just means you're slower than the speed of sound. We're still well in excess of that right now. But by the time we hit subsonic, we're essentially belly flopping down. There we go. There's that sunlight. So we're seeing the Earth now come back into view. One of the other things we're doing during this, and you're going to see Starship kind of pitch in some pretty, not extreme ways, but a little extreme, as we're trying to really stress the structure of it, of the ship itself, specifically those aft flaps. So the ones in the very bottom of the vehicle. We're pushing not just how well does the heat shield hold up, but how well does the ship structure hold up. We are pushing it beyond essentially what we think we'll have to fly at to do something like a return to launch site. So again, may not be a very smooth ride downhill, but we're doing that by design. We're really trying to find what are the edges that we can operate at, build up a good data set. But sun is up, clouds and water down below us. We are just about 10 minutes away, a little less than 10 minutes now, until we start hitting transonic and then subsonic. Once we hit subsonic, we're basically just belly flopping.
This is crazy. And yeah, remember, Flight 4 had a lot of missing flap hardware by the time it made it down. So this is holding attitude very well. Again, look at the attitude indicator, the little miniature ship on the bottom right. That's looking good. That's holding itself very well. So it's literally going to be burning through some spots. The flaps are going to start getting eaten away. That the engine skirt is where they have a lot of missing tiles. That's probably why we saw some stuff already getting hot and letting go or blowing up. Yet it's still ticking. It's still going. It's like the little...
Right, so about 55.5 minutes in, you can see the sun is up. Again, we intentionally designed these flights to lift off in the evening here so we get these daylight views so we can get as good a video as possible on the ship, assuming we make it all the way down. We've got at least one buoy powered by Starlink that's out there in the landing zone in the Indian Ocean, hopefully giving us a view again. If you see any live views, not from the ship itself, that means we nailed our landing target.
Starship is past peak heating.
That's good.
All right, we just heard the call out that we're past peak heating, so things are looking good so far.
Yeah, looking good. And at this point, again, the flaps are controlling. So this movement you're seeing is that forward flap moving to try and just maintain control, maintain attitude of the vehicle as we're coming down.
Man, deep breaths. It's crazy. Just seeing it get absolutely obliterated. It gives you a sense of an appreciation for how intense reentry is, how much energy is involved in this, and how much energy has to come out.
Checking in on one of our flaps. We got one of these cameras on all 4 of the flaps, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, giving us really good close-up views.
That one back one is getting
as we're
crazy.
We obviously don't have a camera that can see the entire heat shield. These give us kind of the best that we can do. But looking at those flaps is really, those are just, super critical for controlling the ship. You have some ability to maneuver kind of cross range. So as you're coming in, you can see in that indicator at the very bottom right that we've pitched up quite a bit. So again, we are maximally stressing those aft flaps right now.
Yeah, look at that, just getting eaten away down there.
It's like we got a little bit of burn through the very bottom part of it.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit. I'd say a lot of it.
Everything's still looking good. Ship maintaining control.
Notice that it is actually kind of rolling over, or yawing over. It's kind of hard to just describe yaw or roll in this case.
Just about 5 minutes away until we hear that we're transonic.
Which either means that likely means it's just trying to target its landing. Either it's losing control or it's targeting its landing, and it has to do some of that to be able to kind of change its cross range trajectory down. Like if you need to go north or south, you'll start seeing a little bit of roll to really hone in. I like that G-force indicator. There goes more aft flap. Look at that. Yeah, Captain Ecolo or EKO in our Discord saying it's actually says a lot about how controllable it is.
Still a little bit toasty on the aft skirt.
How controllable it is, even with parts being so damaged.
In.
It is pretty impressive that it's maintaining orientation.
Again, we are intentionally stressing the flaps so we can learn all we can.
Crazy
right,
views.
So now we're already well past peak heating.
Oh, that flap is not looking okay. Look at how much is burned through.
Just about 48,
the backside is glowing.
Counting down to 48 kilometers in altitude. Expecting that transonic to come. So transitioning between the speed of sound and subsonic slower than the speed of sound in just a little under 4 minutes from now. And right now we've got kind of a lot of forward momentum, a lot of forward velocity. And then eventually by the time we hit subsonic. All right, here we go. So this is what we've been talking about, where we are going to essentially try to fully deploy those aft flaps and really stress them out. So again, this is meant to test the extremes for the vehicle.
I thought I'd just lose it right away. That's going to throw the brakes on, basically. That's cool. Wow. Now that's data you can work with right there. Hypersonic.
Right.
Extreme maneuvers at hypersonic with binked up flaps
swinging out.
Oh
again,
my gosh.
We're putting ship through the ringer on this flight in.
That is awesome. So you wouldn't normally do this, but it's nice to know your edge case is like what?
It's like we're still maintaining control.
Wow. That's incredible. I'm shocked that it's holding together during that. I thought the deployment would just go, all right, see ya. Those nose flaps are looking great. That looks brand new.
All right, flaps earning their paycheck today, getting through kind of that max stressing.
Unbelievable.
Definitely things looking good so far. We're about 2 minutes out now from Starship becoming transonic.
One cool thing to note as we get some of those views showing kind of the whole length of the ship, one of the changes we made after Flight 6 was to changed the tile line a little bit. So we had kind of scaled back the number of tiles significantly, as when we go to catch these ships, you don't want to, I think as Elon said, you don't want to shuck the ship as you catch it and knock all those tiles off. So we knew we were going to have to kind of peel back that layer a little bit. And the first time we did it was on Flight 6, and we saw kind of wrinkling and dimples almost in the ship as we were creating these hot spots in the uneven parts of the heat shield. And so we, to kind of address that, we smoothed it out. That's why you've got kind of that nice smoothed out black line now on the ship. And just looking at it, we can see kind of a little bit of hot spot, a little bit of warping almost. Near the payload door, you can see a little bit of colored patina up above it, but we don't see those kind of deep, almost, you know, they almost look like gouges on that. So it looks like that's been pretty successful. So, all right, we are less than a minute away from hitting transonic. Again, pretty soon our forward velocity is going to look like it's kind of falling off a cliff, and Starship will look like it's falling off a cliff as we essentially go into our belly flop. If you watched some of the high altitude tests or suborbital campaigns, we were able to test that. It was a pretty fundamental, like, can this thing actually fly? And we were able to prove that out with that suborbital campaign, and that's what we're about to see shortly here.
It's made it this far. That's the punishing part. So now just the kind of standard falling. It's the Buzz Lightyear part, falling with style. Nice and gentle at this point, basically. So if it maintained and lands next to the buoy, this is incredibly impressive because they have put it through its paces. It's missing large portions of its control surfaces. This will be mighty impressive. So now you'll start to see it go from more vertical, and it'll kind of lay down horizontally the slower it gets.
So at this point, we've dropped below the speed of sound. So Starship itself is subsonic. We are starting to chill the engines for a landing burn attempt.
Let's go. This is crazy.
Landing flip supposed to start in a little over 2 minutes. Subsonic Indian Ocean, we're on our way.
Starship is subsonic.
I am shocked they got this far.
There we go. Farewell, space.
Wow. Look at that. Just during the daylight like this, it just brings it home. Wow. I love how battered it is.
Coming up in just a little under 2 minutes, so we're going to do the flip and the burn. So we're only using those 3 center Raptor engines, the sea levels, the ones that can kind of gimbal, that can move around and steer.
Incredible.
Dipping the nose down a little bit.
Absolutely incredible.
Got 2 of our engines chilled in, waiting on 1 more. So again, we'll attempt to use 3 burns for that initial flip. We eventually go down to just 2 Raptors for the end of the landing burn.
Now you'll start to see him get a little more active here.
Just about 1 minute now from that landing flip and landing burn start.
Can't believe this works. This is ridiculous. This should not work. This looks like a movie, you know, it looks like Interstellar or something. Like coming in and it's like right on the verge of even having burnt through and all this stuff. And
structurally, we're looking good. Got good pressures in our nose cone for everything. Just about 30 seconds. So again, we're going to look for the flip. So Starship's doing its belly flop right now. We're going to do the flip. Swing out. Let's punch through some clouds first.
Let's go. These views are incredible. So you can see the ocean down there. You can just see it.
Here we go.
Please don't blow up. You like the engine.
Start up.
Seeing 3 engines.
Oh, yes.
There's our flip.
Yes! Oh, buoy cam! Get it, buoy cam!
There's a buoy. There's a splashdown.
Yes! Yes, that was the best one yet! Oh, that was fantastic!
Oh, man. Yeah, farewell, Ship 37. Thank you, buoy cam. Landing flip, landing burn, splash out of the Indian Ocean. There we go.
Wow.
All right. That was pretty awesome.
Incredible flight
cool, right?
today for both ship and booster.
Yeah, really incredible. So obviously we're excited here. It looks like everybody's excited over there. Tyler, how's it going over in Hawthorne?
We are super excited here in Hawthorne. It was another exciting Starship flight test in the books, and we hope you enjoyed those Starlink views. So congratulations to the team at Starbase and everyone here and around the company. So many employees have contributed enormously to the Starship program as we continue to iterate and make progress towards a multi-planetary future. So that's going to wrap it up for us here in Hawthorne. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today. It was great being with you today. Back to you guys.
That was absolutely incredible. Huge congrats to all the teams here. Again, we lifted off from Starbase, Texas, right at the top of our window at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We saw a booster successfully lift us up through ascent, had a successful hot staging where ship continued on with its suborbital trajectory. Booster came back down, had that boost back burn, and a successful landing burn with that unique engine configuration as well.
Yeah, and then ship continued on its way, made it all the way into space. We got to see first ever payload deploy.
So exciting.
That was awesome. We got the door open, 8 Starlink simulators deployed, relit that Raptor engine, and then on entry we probably gave it a little bit of extra time in the oven, but made it all the way through reentry. All 3 engines started up, landing flip, splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Promised maximum excitement. Starship delivered.
Most
so
definitely.
Congratulations, all of our teammates here at SpaceX. It's been a year. Everybody that's worked on this program, this is what we're working for. So big congrats to all of them. Thank you to all of our future customers, too, for your support.
And we'd also like to thank the fine people of Cameron County, including the residents of its newest city, Starbase, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Government of Mexico, and the Australian Space Agency.
Be sure to stay tuned to SpaceX on X for updates, more of the views. This is just a tiny amount of the views. We have so many views that we didn't get to feature on the broadcast, so we're going to be going through that over the next couple of days, and we'll be posting it all there.
Yeah, if you're interested in more launch coverage, head on over to spacex.com/launches for the most up-to-date information. In fact, we actually recently rolled out a new departure board featuring our upcoming launches with details like mission name, launch and landing site, and liftoff time. So be sure to check it out.
All right. We just launched the world's biggest rocket. Again, dropped a couple satellites off, suborbital.
Incredible payload deploy for today.
Nailed that double header into the ocean, splashdown, time to go through the data. Really crazy cool to hit all those objectives today.
Yeah, huge shout out to all the teams who make this look easy. And thanks to all of you for tuning in, and we will see you back here for Flight 11. Good night.
Yes, guys. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. And the road's already open again, by the way, down at the pad. That is crazy. I guess that's what happens when they don't bring the booster back and they don't have to, defuel it. So let's hear it again one more time for everybody. I've got some awesome comments to go through real quick. And then my team deserves a massive, massive break tonight after all the hard work they did to go backup on backup on backup on backup, like auxiliary everything, and to be able to make the show work. Shocked. So awesome job, guys. Nailed it. Can't believe you put it together. I was starting to think like we were just going to cancel this one, honestly. It was like getting spooky. But we have some really generous people here. We'll actually have some slow-mo replays here for you guys as well. And we might have some other replays queued up. So stick around. We'll go through a little bit of those. We'll go through a little bit of the analysis as well. Maybe we can queue up the flip and landing burn as well. Just watch that kind of frame by frame. That'd be fun as well. So starting off with the biggest thank you from, I don't think this is working for me right now, but let me try pushing it again. 1 second. It was from, where did that go? Huge one from Sergey. Oh, it's not working right now, but Sergey, let's go humanity. Hello from Italy, Tim. Thank you so much. €100 donation. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see here. We've got another $100 from Mark Miller. Wonderful to see all the progress. Yes, this was finally the progress we expected to see with Starship. You know, I know there's already going to be critics that are talking about, oh, the flaps burning, it all blew up and stuff. That was the point. We've said that the whole time. That is the point of these tests, is to push these things beyond their operational, their standard operational procedures. See what happens. See if you can still bring a vehicle back. And they did. And it was awesome. And you should be excited for the teams that have mountains of data to go through. You should be excited for the teams that made this stuff happen, because it finally looked like it did better than version 1 Starship. We can finally say that. So, man, that was awesome. I am so excited by that. Another big super chat donation from the EV Addict Flawless Coverage team. Say hi to 3L Atlas Starship. Is that what this is? Or 3? I don't know. Unfortunately, the comments aren't going up on the screen right now, but that might be a me thing. But thank you so much again for that donation as well. Man, you guys are... Do they have IR cameras for heat analysis? Would be cool to see. So a long time ago, Elon talked about the fact that they would have cameras inside the tanks that'll actually also see where hotspots are. And they can use that to analyze how the vehicle is during reentry. What goes good and what goes bad. This is from CJ Carthy. What a nice show to watch on my birthday. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, SpaceX. Thanks, weather, for playing nice. The weather finally cooperated. Finally. So many generous donations again. This is from Ivan. Thanks, Tim and his team, for making this live stream possible. The plasma on Starship is hot, but not nearly as hot as my lovely Latina girlfriend. I had to read that out loud because I think she needs to hear that. That's hilarious. Thank you so much. I did push a comment earlier about visiting Velvet Tacos in San Antonio, and the reality is that's definitely one of my favorite places. I tend to go there in Austin, but I've been to the Houston one. I love Velvet Taco. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So good recommendation. If you happen to be someone that owns Velvet Tacos and that was your advertisement, I'm happy to say they're the best tacos I've ever had. Nick X, I wish we could throw this up on screen. Everyone, Nick X with a $500 super chat. Holy crap. Say thank you to Nick X. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Nick X. Just Nick X. That's all it is. Just Nick X. And it just says awesome. $500 from Nick X, and it just says awesome. You could have written a novel and I would have read the whole thing. You could have made me say whatever you wanted. And you said awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nick X. Holy crap. Taco Fund /SDI to Fiber Converter Fund is stuffed right now. Team's going to eat well tonight. I will tell you that. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. That is huge. Greatly appreciated. Man, are you guys, oh man. Oh, another one from XRP Wizard. Go buy yourself some Casey's pizza to celebrate. Unfortunately, we're in Texas where they don't have Casey's. When I get home to Iowa, you better believe I'm going to have some of that delicious Casey's breakfast pizza. Again, sponsored by Casey's. Not sponsored by Casey's, but Casey's. Want to sponsor a random rocket launch stream? Absolutely hilarious. We do have a replay to roll here, so if you guys are ready for some replays, check this out. Slow-mo footage, I believe, is what we're going to see first, right? This is from our... Slow-mo is going to be at the end. So this is just liftoff here from right across the street. Nice and clean. Things are looking controlled. And the live shot we kept in the bottom right. Thank you for doing that. From right in that position. Yeah, that's nice. Can't believe vehicles can just be parked there when the world's largest rocket takes off. That's crazy. Here's the tracker Ryan doing some tracking, of course. Cosmic Perspective. The legend himself, Ryan Shalinsky. Look at that. Getting good shots of the heat shield tiles. You can get a sense of how many are holding on there for dear life. It looks like it was looking pretty good at liftoff. And then we get to the real meat and potatoes there. That is the engine shots. 33 Raptor engines. Look at that tracking shot. And the coolest thing is this is actually shot in 600 frames per second. So we can slow it down 20 times to be able to get slow-mo out of this. And when I say slow-mo, it's like time standing still almost. You can see the gas just shooting out of those Raptor engines. And you can see how, the funny thing is, do you notice it gets a little bit shakier? Also, I don't know how Ryan tracked it through the clouds. That was crazy. The crazy thing is at 600 frames a second, what was I saying? Something thing and stuff with, I don't know. But that seemed to have potentially frozen. Either that or time stopped and I'm stuck in a, oh, there we go. That's the spotting scope. Oh, I was going to say, I know what happened. What I was going to say is you do notice when the sound waves start to hit these camera views from Ryan on the Sapphire, it starts shaking the building so much. You can see it goes from like steady as a rock to like just a little bit jittery. And that's just simply because the entire building's shaking. So, yeah, unbelievable. That is a cool shot. That's actually just so clean. Is this North Beach? Which one's this? I don't know what shot this would be from. You shot this on the back deck? Just handheld? I was going to say, I don't know what camera angle that'd be. This is just on the tripod, just handheld. That's actually pretty darn good. Especially the first part was actually really good. Yeah, that's going to be hard from there, though. That's pretty cool, though. You can see, really, from this angle, you see the roll. You see the roll profile, how they roll it, so the heat shield's tiles are basically facing this way. They're facing north. That's cool. So this is North Beach. Water deluge going. That's good. I love that. That's the good stuff. How did Andrew get this to work with all the latency issues? Did he hit a pre-programmed button thing? That's impressive. That's a cool shot. Yeah, I can tell. I'm excited to see the recording of that because you can see some frames were definitely being dropped over the air fiber, but that is cool. That is impressive. God, it ended up being a beautiful day for a launch. A really surprisingly beautiful day for launch. Next shot's going to be booster landing in real time, and then we'll show you booster landing in slow-mo. I love when you see the interaction there of the rocket going supersonic and all the crazy interactions with the air. Like, that's just so cool. All right, here's the booster coming back in through reentry, tracking cam, real time. You can just see those grid fins working. That is so, I love that. That is so cool. A little shimmy. It looked like it had a little yaw motion there. 12 of the engines, it sounds like, lit. And then they go down to 3, but only 2 of them on the center ring. Man, we were shooting through some atmosphere there, weren't we? This is far out. And you can tell it sat there and actually hovered above the ground or above the ocean. And then it just turned it off and it just let itself fall so it'd break up. That was intentional. So you don't have debris, floating off. And look at this in slow-mo. Watch this in slow motion. Are you kidding me? That's the good stuff. And that, my friends, is why we have Free Fly. Those Embers are incredible cameras. Look at that. That is so awesome. That's a good boom. That is incredible. Wow. Look at that big giant piece of shrapnel. It looks like paper, but that probably weighs 2 tons, and if it landed on you, it would just crush you in an instant. It's incredible. Wow. Great work, team. I don't know how you pulled it together with all of our absolute gremlins. Impressive. Seriously, very impressive. I don't know how you guys always do this kind of stuff. Wow. Yeah, absolutely incredible. From Vegas Brent, another $100 super chat. Thank you so much for the coverage from the Replica AI Discord community. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm not familiar with the Replica AI Discord community, but thank you so much for saying hi and popping in here. Parker Tazelier, $50. Thank you so much. Sorry these aren't going up on screen, guys. Chiming in for a great dinner for staff tonight. Thank you so much, Jose. Really, really appreciate that. Great job. Love watching launches from from Cynthia. Thank you so much. Adam Berry, worth the wait. Thank you for the 3 days of streams. You are welcome. Thank you guys for watching with us. I mean, it's yeah. And 500 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much. This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jordan. I agree. I mean, that's as successful as I think we can get on a test flight like this, where they're pushing it to the limits. That is success. And I know, you know, it looks scary and it's sketchy, but that's the reality of what's happening. It is absolutely crazy. Another huge one from Wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow, good to hear from you again. Thank you so much for the team's late night meal. Awesome coverage as always. Thank you so much, Wheelbarrow. Thank you all so much. I'm going to work on wrapping up so I can actually get these people these tacos that have been promised. You guys are amazing. I mean, just all of you watching and hanging out. It really does mean the world to me. It's the only reason we're able to do this. Absolutely incredible. I did hear, by the way, a couple people saying that we might have a little issue with the shop for shipping in Washington and Oregon. We're on it, working on trying to see if we can figure out what's going on. Stay tuned for that. But for those of you that were here commenting, hanging out, oh my gosh, another what? 500 from Jackham. Thanks so for the incredible stream and commentary from your friends at OSH Cut. No way. Yes, the best source for all your fabrication needs. This is true. They made Oshcut made. Sorry, when I was reading Oshcut, I'm just sitting there. OSH. Oshcut made this crazy racing simulator from scratch, from parts that they like made in house at OpenSauce this year. And let me tell you, I'm a bit of a sim freak. I love sim racing, and that was awesome. They just built it just as like a demonstrator and turned it into a whole thing. Where at OpenSauce, all the creators were like racing. There's a leaderboard. I sadly came in second by about 3/10 on Brands Hatch. Out of about, I don't remember, was there a few dozen, 2 or 3 dozen people? So thank you so much. I mean, we're in touch already, talking about doing some really cool stuff with the products they do, about literally making us a few new camera mounts and tracking mounts all in house, like just right there. It's absolutely incredible. The fact that they just like put together these huge, 3-axis motion simulators from scratch. It was unreal. I was like, oh, you brought these things? And they're like, yeah, we built them. We just built them in house. We just ordered it out of parts that we did on our Oshcut website. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Huge. Oh man. So thank you so much. Thank you for your ongoing support, because we've got some cool things that we're working on. So, which is a reminder. So, oh man, guys, we're trying to get out of here, and all these people are still coming in crazy. Thank you, some Wheelbarrow. Y'all need some hydration too. Thank you so much, Wheelbarrow. Again, you guys, this is all too generous. I'm gonna work on getting us out of here. I don't want to sit here and milk this because I feel like I have a team to be responsible for here. But again, thank you. You are the fact that you guys come and you watch and you like and you share and you comment, you hang out with us, you suffer through my excitement sometimes, and you suffer through sometimes our technical glitches. just to be here really, really, really means a lot. You have a lot of options to watch these launches, and when you watch with me, it means a lot because it feels personal. I mean, this is my life, and the fact that you want to hang out here and talk and support, and it really, really, really means the world. So, again, one more time, huge congratulations to everything that was accomplished today with SpaceX and the SpaceX Starship team and everyone that made that possible. That was a huge success. Very cool. Very excited for what's coming. Very excited to see version 3 fly, which will be 2 flights away. So the next one will be the last version 2 flight. Hopefully, again, it gets to do. It'd be cool if they were able to actually test and demonstrate an actual orbital insertion, but we will see. So one last question from Austin Patrick. This is where we're going to wrap up the night. It is a proper question. Where will the dummy satellites burn up? They're going to burn up pretty darn close to where Starship re-entered because their trajectories were the same, except for the fact that Starship did 2 things that would alter its trajectory. It did that Raptor engine relight, which would slightly extend its trajectory, and then it also was doing some maneuvers with the flaps, and that changes, the whole profile, and it probably stayed up aloft earlier. So the satellites, the dummy satellites, will re-enter there within, I don't know, a few hundred kilometers of where Starship landed in the middle of the Indian Ocean, inside the exclusion zone. That's why they do it like that, so they can deploy those. They'll re-enter no matter what. There's nothing you could do to get those to, accidentally stay in space. They were on its way through re-entry, and that's exactly what was happening. So, all right, you guys, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out, and thanks to our Discord and our Patreon members as well for hanging out and providing support and help and all the things you guys do in there too. You guys are absolutely incredible. Ian G showing that he's been a member of Patreon since July 2019. Amazing, guys, awesome. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. There'll be more. You'll be hearing from me and some fun things on the way. So a few tours, I will say. I got a couple tours lined up with some exciting companies. More on that later. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching with us. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.